ability of the employee to prevent issues and discussions regarding that person's employment, personnel matters, compensation, things that might affect that person adversely, to be put to go from closed session into public session. They have the right to do that. Now, years after, there was a case taken up by the appellate division, the Keene case, where the appellate division decided to expand Rice further than just what I explained. And it basically started to engraft on the Open Public Meetings Act a requirement that if there was going to be discussions of any personnel matters, that you couldn't really discuss anything unless you gave employees notice, things of that nature. There was a time where the protection of notice and all that kind of stuff was more expansive than really what the Open Public Meetings Act seemed to indicate. Ultimately, the Supreme Court took up the case and reversed the appellate division, and basically kind of went back to the basic approach of Rice, which was, all right, if you want to discuss personnel matters where somebody could be adversely affected and you're going to go into closed session, you have to give the employee 48 hours notice, and the employee can opt to say, I do not want this to be in closed session. I want it to be an open session. However, if a public body intends to discuss a matter in open session and not go into closed session, then the necessity for a Rice notice is not there any longer. And you can discuss things publicly. The only caveat there is, no, the court has not commented upon any comments for any effect on reputational harm or anything that goes along with that if something should come up. They specifically did not want to get into that, and they never did get into it. So that's kind of just out there. But the basic premise of the Rice notice is it's the ability of the employee to prevent discussion regarding their personnel issues, matters where they could be adversely affected in closed session without the prior notice being given, and the ability to kick that out of closed session and make it be in public session. So that, in a nutshell, is basically what a Rice notice is all about.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. Yeah, go ahead.
Paul, you mentioned, sorry about that. You had mentioned adversely affected. Is it only adverse, or is it discussion of personnel matters and the choice to have that?
It appears that it's supposed to be adverse. It appears to be. That's what these cases involve. If I took an approach and said you want to discuss giving a raise to an employee of $5,000 or $10,000, I don't believe, and you want it. Well, let me put it this way: I believe you probably could do that without the Rice notice. However, my problem with that would be, during that discussion, it's very rare that you could actually make sure that something negative or adverse could come up, and that would violate the Rice notice approach. So, you know, the better approach would be, if you're going to discuss personnel and you want to go into closed, and assuming that the employee knows you're going to do that and knows that it's not going to be bad or adverse, they probably would have no problem with getting the Rice notice and letting you stay enclosed. So, you know, you see, it would work in reverse there.
But Mr. Pollard, I've seen agencies for promotions send out rice notices, which are not
Right.
adversary. It's not an issue. It's for a promotion, and they've had to send out
No,
rice.
I understand. Well,
That
rice,
goes a little against what you're saying. It's only for,
well,
we're going
in
to
this-
talk about
in thi-
somebody in a negative
in this is-
connotation.
this is what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Remember what I just said about what year it occurred, Michael? So the law did change about sending out the rice notice, and there was that case from the appellate division which required rice notices. But the current law is that you don't. And if we're splitting hairs on, negative versus adverse, I would not subscribe to making that distinction. I would feel that if you're going to discuss personnel matters, you should send out a rice notice. Otherwise, you run the risk.
Whether they're positive or negative, correct?
Right.
That's when I was on council last time, that was your recommendation, is to send out the rice notice, whether we're talking positively or negatively, to
Right.
be safe. Okay,
Right.
thank you. I just want to make
Yeah.
sure we're still on the same page.
Yeah.
May I ask a question?
Go ahead, Ms. West.
So in the past, when we've discussed positions without using names in general meetings, it's never been an issue. So is this because it's salary, or why have we been able to do it in the past and now we can't? If it's just a position without names.
Well, if you're talking about, for example, you want to hire a code official, and you say, let's have a discussion on what the code official would do. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that being in public, there's nothing wrong with actually discussing anything in public. I mean, like I said, the rice notice only kicks in if you are going into closed. And it's your choice in the initial phase of whether you're going into closed. If you said, we're going to discuss XYZ employee, we're going to talk about it publicly, in not going into closed, there's no rice notice. You're in open session, no rice notice. And so what we've tried to do over the years, and of course, as I said, the law has changed somewhat and developed. But what we've tried to do is when we got into personnel and people wanted to have some candid discussions and things of that nature, because don't forget, I've seen a lot of personnel in my day. So there have been times where people want to, have a little freedom of discussion and didn't feel as comfortable doing it in public. So they wanted to go into closed. But then again, you have to give the rice notice. If the employee says it's okay, then it stays in closed. If the employee says no, it comes out into public.
Which we've had an employee do that, Ms. West.
Okay, and then I just have one more question. If we are just voting on a position's standard 2%, if it's just a regular vote without discussion of the position itself, then do we need to rice somebody if it's just a vote?
No. If you're first of all, again, if you're going to discuss something in public, there is no rice. There is no rice notice.
So just a regular standard vote is fine.
Regular vote. You're talking about this is what we want to do for our zoning officer, regular vote. In
just
public,
looking at the requested.
if you want to do something for, whatever, regular vote in public.
Okay.
And
So
again,
unless it comes into question that position for whatever reason, then there really isn't a need if it's just going to be a 1, 2, 3 vote. There's the position's not in question.
If we're not going to do any discussion, correct?
Correct. If it's just a standard vote, then there's no need to race because there's no need for discussion.
Correct.
Okay.
Right, Mr. Pollock?
there's no need for no need for rice.
I was going to take if we're going to take the director of law and say we're paying the recommended of 1,800 and a requested 1,800, and we take a vote, we don't have to rice Mr. Pollock, correct?
No, if you're doing that in public, you don't. No.
Okay.
Is that your answer to your
Yes.
question?
Yes.
Any other questions for Mr. Pollock? Thank you, Mr. Pollock.
Okay, so I'm not gonna hang around for the rest of the meeting. Is that
Oh,
okay?
shucks.
All right. All
Thank
right.
you. Have a good night, Mr. Pollard.
You have a good evening. Okay,
Thank you,
bye.
Mr. Fowler.
All right, okay, bye-bye.
Good. Gentlemen, would you like to join us at the table?
Thank you for your patience.
Police starts on page 26. If anybody's, page 26 is the beginning of.
And 92 on the,
What's that?
92 on the detail.
On the details, yes. All right. Good evening, Chief. Good evening,
Good evening.
Sergeants and Lieutenants, and thank you for coming. Yes, Chief Calamari. Captain Pecora is here. I call him Sergeant still, but Mr. Sheriff's here. What's that?
Lieutenant Sheriff.
Lieutenant Sheriff. Yeah, my glasses aren't on. I thought it said Lieutenant, but I didn't want to insult him. So, good evening, Lieutenant Sheriff. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Page 26, the beginning. Mr. DiCarlo, can you, I know the first one we're not going to discuss, but it says it's a contractual obligation, the 110 line.
Yes, that.
Can we get a breakdown of how that's being accounted for?
Captain, you usually provide me with that number, and you usually have it based on what everybody's salaries are going to be throughout the year.
Yes, that's basically a contractual breakdown of the new increase per the contract with
Yeah.
CBA, with any potential promotions that are involved in that, all the step raises. We have, 6 or 7 officers that are in steps.
Okay.
So you have to figure out, what they're getting the first half of the year, second half of the year, depending on when they were.
But there's a tabulation sheet.
Yes.
Right? Can we get a copy of that?
Yeah, I don't have it with me now, but
Well, if you can get it,
Yes.
Mr. DeCarlo, can you get it to Ms. Witkowski?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to skip to police. Crossing guards is a salary position, right?
Correct.
You know, do police. Crossing guards?
You want to skip overtime?
Well, overtime is contract. I want to get the salaries first before we go to overtime.
Okay.
So we have police crossing guards 401-25240-150, 90,425 requested, 90,425 recommended. Are we getting more crossing guards?
Just one second. So the current salary ordinance calls for $18.71 to $20 an hour for crossing guards, which is really now just marginally above the state minimum, which is $15.13 an hour. The crossing guards work 3 hours a day, Monday through Friday, but the hours require the employee to be available during 2 separate timeframes during the day. The hiring and retention for the position is increasingly challenging and demanding. I requested a 2.5% raise. For 2024 over 2023 for retention and potential replacement. I'd like to get them all up to that $20 an hour.
Does that bring them over 20 or does that bring them to 20, this number?
In the sliding scale, they go from that $18 to $20 an hour now, and it would put them at not even, I think, $20 and change, $21 and change an hour.
Do I have, I'm sorry, I didn't do a motion. Do I have a motion for
So moved.
crossing guards?
Second.
Roll call?
Can I,
Oh, I'm sorry.
how many crossing guards do we have?
5.
Is this a shared cost with the school district or no?
No, crossing guards are not, because they work off the school grounds.
Thank you.
And do they receive health benefits?
no.
And I'm sorry, how many hours a day?
3,
3 in total,
correct.
1.5
Correct.
How many crossing guards was there, Chief?
5.
5?
Is that the standard or are we still in need of more crossing guards?
That covers us, and we have 1 per diem that fills in.
Okay.
Did we have 5 in 2002 as well?
I believe we increased 1.
Yeah.
No, we had 4 back then, and we've since increased.
4 to 5?
Yeah.
At,
The second one on School Street.
But that also provided.
We're not using a SLEO there anymore?
No. He does go up. In the course of his duties, we have him posted up there, but he's not required to be there. We have him go up there to cover traffic because the crossing guard can't direct traffic. And just as a best practice, it's good to have him up there during that time frame also. He handles the traffic while they coordinate while the crossing guard is crossing the kids. But the problem is the crossing guards, as we know, can't direct traffic. And that's the big problem up there.
Okay. Thank you.
They won't listen, or the crossing guard is not.
They're not.
legally-
Statutorily prohibited. They can stop traffic and that's it. They can't say when to go and, you know,
Can't do that.
yeah, exactly.
So it requires 3 people to manage School Street.
One is down at Pascack Road
Okay.
and handles the crossing duties there. One is handling crossing duties at the corner of School and Wayne Place, and the other, the SLEO 2, is handling the traffic to keep things moving. It gets chaotic.
The other one in the middle, too.
So you got 2 at George, 3 at Washington. and
2
one
at
high school.
George, 3 crossing guards at Washington. You have 2 at the high school technically. You have 1 at Ridgewood, and you have 1 right by the high school. And then our officer directs traffic and crosses the kids in front of the high
By
school.
the church.
So that same officer goes from the high school when he's done, and then he goes over to Washington School, helps with the traffic.
Okay.
So,
Any other questions? Roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Ullman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Police vacation buyback, 401-25-240-160, 70,000 requested, 70,000 recommended. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Can I ask, what is this calculation?
The officers, as per the contract, the collective bargaining agreement, are entitled to sell back up to half their vacation time. And the current ask is based on last year's expenditure. The problem with these things is often hitting a moving target, but more officers are accruing additional vacation time based on seniority. So we expect it to go slightly higher.
So this is based on prior year, not the 50% of contractual, excuse me.
Correct. We hope that they're not all going to sell back half of their time. If so, it would be significantly higher.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I'm sorry, the increase is also for the increase of the officers we just had.
correct.
So, that increase would cover their 2 positions.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes,
Councilman Ullman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Police personal day buyback, 401-25-240-170, 17,000 requested, 17,000 recommended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
second.
How did we overspend this by so much last year, Mr. DeCarlo?
It was contractually obligated.
Well, why didn't we budget for it correctly then?
If I may, this is another one of those cases where we're hitting a moving target. If officers, they're entitled to sell back all of their personal time, their personal days are different than
How many
vacation.
personal days does each officer get?
Did we go? It's based on hours. So it's 36 hours. And if officers haven't used their vacation time, generally a personal day is done because based on the nature of the work and the scheduling, we give that at pretty much a moment's notice. If the officer is assigned to a shift and he can't make it and he calls in a personal day, he gets it for an emergency or something like that. Whereas a vacation day has to be put in significantly in advance. The officers, I even have in my notes, they're good about holding that personal time just for emergencies. So I'm happy to report that they didn't have many emergencies this year, but it's unfortunate with regard to the budget factor. And again, this is a case where we're hitting a moving target because it's almost impossible to predict exactly how much. And for last year, we based it on the previous years. And this year it was just significantly higher, but it's a contractual benefit and more than usual took advantage of it.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Casio,
No.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Ullman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes.
May I ask one question?
Sure. I assumed it was Mr. Mick, sorry.
For both of these lines, these buyback policies prevent accruing long-term, correct? So
Correct. Yeah.
at the end, on December 31st, every officer, in theory, has either taken vacation or bought it back.
That
And
is-
the same with their personal time.
That is correct.
Okay. And would you know if we have any officers who continue to maintain a bank? Or has everyone been bought out?
At the beginning of the year, it starts fresh.
There is a comp bank for comp time, which is accrued overtime. That does carry over from year to year.
Okay. How about vacation? But no one has vacation? That's all been,
That's correct. Vacation and personal time is all zeroed out at the end of the year.
Do we know what our liability is for that compact?
I'm working on that now. Since taking over, that's been one of my priorities. I've been a little busy getting up to speed, but it is something that I want to get a handle on.
Per federal law, an officer can carry over up to 480 hours each year. So at 40.
Not an additional 480.
That's it.
Yeah.
What's that?
Their comp bank is maxed at 480 hours. So if an officer were to get up to 480 hours, he can't put more in his bank. He would have to take the overtime as pay.
480 is a quarter of a year, so it's 3 months.
Yeah.
It's a lot of time.
Correct.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah. Agreed.
don't we disclose that in the budget? Isn't that disclosed on one of the sheets in the final budget?
I think it is a liability. It is shown as a liability in the FS.
If I can clarify, the generally accepted practice is that the officer is entitled to take that as time, but not as pay. So he can use that time for time off, but, and this is something that actually Ken or Labor Council would have to ring in on. There's two schools of thought that the officer cannot put in to get paid on that. We actually had an issue where that was addressed this past year. An officer put in for that time to get paid and it was denied and that was accepted. So they can use it as time off, but
That means he or she could take 3 months off.
correct. But we have an internal policy where comp time cannot create overtime. You cannot take a day off if it requires you to be replaced on comp time.
Okay.
So they're taking comp time in lieu of getting paid. So it saves the town foot in the bill at the time, but then that time is available at the end, so.
Did we take a roll call now?
Yeah, you did.
Next few are salaries we're not going to discuss. Is the sergeant differential, is that a contractual obligation?
Yes.
Police sergeant differential 401-25-240-191, 6,000 requested. 6,000 recommended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
And is that the maximum potential?
No, we use that, that's an escrow line. So the way that works is if an officer is the senior, if he's not a sergeant or higher and he's in charge of the shift, he gets compensated. I forget what the actual hourly rate difference is. We've also since put in the contract that for the rank of corporal, the first 300 hours per year that they work in that capacity is not additionally compensated. So we've worked out here, as you can see, $9,000. You know, we've gradually brought that number down. You'll see the big move from 22 to 23. That's when that provision kicked in. It saved the town significant money, but it is something that we need to escrow because if a sergeant were to go out on some sort of extended sick leave, that corporal would easily exceed those 300 hours. So that's why we try to be reasonable about it. It's another one of those moving targets where we need the money there if we need it. But no, it does not represent the total exposure because of the nature of the collective bargaining agreement, which has unlimited sick time. So.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Ullman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. The next line, it says it's being paid for by the Westwood Regional School District, the entire line or just portion?
Most of it, not all of it.
77,000 of that is for us to pay our SLEO 2s, and that provides for one full-time and one part-time. The rest is paid by the school for the SLEO 3s.
That's accounted for on the revenue side of the budget. If you look at the revenue, it says reimbursement by Board of Ed. And they're also, if correct me, Chief, you're not asking for an increase from last year's salary for the special 1 and the special 2.
That is correct.
So how come we show this gross and many other lines we show net?
I mean, do you mind rephrasing the question? I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're looking for.
So many other lines, as we reviewed the budget, if there were revenues directly associated with the line, they were netted out. So the amount being raised was on a net basis. Here, we're raising the total 257 as opposed to the 77 that's our obligation.
Because it was a better accounting for us because we have to pay salaries out of this. And as you know, the Board of Ed doesn't coincide with our salary, our payments. So oftentimes we had to wait for the reimbursement checks to come from the school district. Our SLEO 3s also get paid on a 12-month basis.
Yeah.
Schools, I don't know how many Board of Ed meetings they have during the summer. So it was a lot easier for us to facilitate all this by adding the amount into the budget and then accounting for it on the revenue side.
But we're increasing taxes by, the differential, Mr. DeCarlo. That's
No,
what,
we're not, sir.
well, it's shown as a $257,000 expense.
Right, and we're accounting for 167,000, I think, on the revenue side, so we are not increasing it. You're just giving me that much in the budget line. So if you go to the revenue, you see shared services Board of Ed, we're asking for 167,400. And in 2023, we received 160,825. The chief explained that there was an increase due to the shared service agreement, correct?
Correct. We bill the school monthly, and what happened initially is, but we bill them, but by the time they pay us back, the item was getting severely depleted to the point where there was a concern about this item being able to meet its obligation, because we would send the bill, and by the time we got the payment, the line item started to run very low towards the end of the year. So this was just commonly agreed upon as a more effective way to avoid that, as long as we could account for the revenue of that monthly bill.
Thank you. 167,400, Mr. Ullman, is what's shown on the revenue side.
I appreciate that. It's just a matter of what I personally feel is the consistency of the depiction of the expenses.
Any other discussion, ladies and gentlemen?
Did we motion for
Did we, I motion for that? I forgot it.
No, you know what, you guys won't let him do it.
I'm sorry. Well, do I have a motion?
that? So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Ullman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Police stipends, 40125-240-195, 3,000 requested, 3,000 recommended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, Chief, looking back at 2022 and 2023, was there a contractual change?
Yes, there was.
Okay.
Can we lower this, Chief?
So the 1,500 from last year is because the only stipend left in the contract is for assignment to the Detective Bureau. Last year, we had one person, and this year we have two people. So they're both entitled to a $1,500 stipend for their assignment to the Detective Bureau.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, with that contract, with the decrease, was that because we're having one less? There used to be three?
No, the decrease,
Yeah.
as I explained before, with regard to the corporal and those 300 hours,
Mhm.
the corporals used to get paid through a stipend set by ordinance.
Correct.
That ordinance was repealed. The corporals are now paid as a salary line in the collective bargaining agreement. So that's what accounts for that, the 4,400.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Ullman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Police office supplies, 40125-240-210, 4,500 requested, 4,500 recommended. Do I have a motion?
Motion to reduce it by $250.
We have a motion to make it $4,250. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
No.
Councilman Ullman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
No.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Police accreditation, 40.
Council President, can I playfully interrupt you? The chief's salary is contractual as well, if you want to get that out of the way.
It's contractual.
Okay.
It's not a salary.
Police chief salary, 40125-240-199, 218,800 requested, 218,800 recommended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll, any discussion? Roll call? Oh, sorry.
No problem. And again, Chief, it's not directed towards you, but you know what I'm going to say. No other employee in Washington Township has a contract or an agreement. The chief does. It's something that should be done away with. You know how I feel. So I will be voting no for that line, just to let you know. Again, nothing personal. It's the position.
Understood.
Okay? Thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll call?
Councilman Casio,
No.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Ullman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Police accreditation, 40125-240-220, 4,281 requested, 4,281 recommended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I saw what did we have to get a credits for this year? I thought we had it.
Is to keep it.
It's an ongoing
Oh.
service fee. The line that
So is it a contractual number or?
the Lexpol accreditation service contract which is, part of that is offset by the JIF. We contract with Lexipol. They provide policy and procedure updates, legal updates. Case law comes out, we need to change a policy. They're obviously serving many clients with many similar SOPs and provisions, and they notify us right away. They tell us exactly what needs to be put in there. They also assist us with providing our proofs. So we become the accreditation thing I could go on and on about, but I'll be
But
concise.
is this a contractual number, Chief, 42?
It is. That's what Lexipol contracts.
And
there's
you
a-
said it's subsidized by JIF?
Correct.
So is that shown on the revenue side, Mr. DeCarlo?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
The original ask was higher. The original ask, I think, was how much?
15,000.
15,000.
So the remainder is covered by JIF?
Yes.
Yes.
If you look on the top of
10, on the next
48,
page, it's 10, 10, 7, 7, 10, 7, 19.
Oh, it got cut off on the next page, okay.
Yeah, so if you look at the revenue, it's actually the last line, Bergen County JIF grant, 10,719. And then there is a line that was created in the budget for that.
Is that a standard thing for JIF to pay that much, or
No,
is
it's
it a
a
one-time deal? So next year, we have a 10,719 liability that we don't have in 2024.
So it's a kinda. We're going to most likely, hopefully, because it's a safety incentive program. So the reason it's 10,719 is because it has accumulated over years. Yearly, it was generally a little bit less than 2,000. So I believe we will get it. It just will be in the teens range rather than the thousands range.
So we have like an $8,000 liability next year to handle. Another 8,000, so it'll be a $12,000 line item, not a $4,000 line item.
I would anticipate that, yes.
Chief, if you stick it to Lexipol and you say we don't want your service anymore, do you lose accreditation?
Do we lose accreditation? Not that day, but over time.
Like how much time?
Well,
A week?
no, once you're
A year?
accredited, you're accredited for 3 years.
Okay.
What Lexipol does is they keep us active with our accreditation. That's what we're paying. So we have to provide proofs to the New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police. That's who accredited us.
Okay.
And those proofs, for our initial accreditation period, we took 18 months to build our policies and then to show our proofs. From the day we got accredited, which was just earlier in the month, from that day forward, you have to start building your proofs again.
Right.
You have to show 3 years worth of proofs. And the service that they provide for that is fantastic, and it is a force multiplier. If I had to pay someone to do what they're doing, I would have to allocate hundreds of hours to it. So no, would we lose our accreditation? We won't lose our accreditation for 3 years. If we did nothing to remain compliant, we're still an accredited agency for 3 years. I think that would be atrocious, obviously, but that is the case. We're still an accredited agency for 3 years. But we would absolutely lose accreditation if we don't stay on top of it.
they help us manage it. And if without them, it's a heavy lift that you're going to have to put one officer specifically on. And now you're losing that salary, just to do this. So that's what happened with accreditation. So this helps us defray that because they assist that officer in doing the work that needs to be done every single year, breaking the thirds.
Okay.
More than half of the departments in Bergen County are now accredited, and I know of only one that is doing it without Lexipol.
How does that differ from our DMS?
Power DMS,
That part of this.
they sell the product. They sell Power DMS. Power DMS is the document management system that helps us track the dissemination of any information. That's where our SOPs are held. That's where we provide the proofs through. We actually obtained an additional service called Power Standards that works through Power DMS. We also provide as much of the training as we can through there. We're allowed to provide a certain portion of it simply through Power DMS classes, which then have associated tests for the officer to prove that he's assimilated the knowledge. And all of that works through Power DMS. They work together. Power DMS is an incredible asset for accreditation. It is not required for accreditation, but some sort of document management system is required.
So the way you explained it, perhaps I misunderstood, is Lexipol, is that it?
Lexipol. Yeah.
Lexipol, excuse me. Is that does Power DMS, is that part of that contracted amount, or is there another line?
That's contained in another line.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Omen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Police subscription and books, 401-25240-240, 1,000 requested, 1,000 recommended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Make a motion to cut it by 200.
Do I have a motion to make 240 $800 by Mr. Casio? Do I have a second?
This is 240.
Yeah, 240, Mr. Ullman.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
If I could jump in on the discussion.
1 second.
Sure.
Sure, Chief.
So the 2023, the amount that was used, provided for our basic subscriptions, for our case law books, our Title 39, which is our motor vehicle books, and our Title 2C, our updated books, which we get every year. But the reason that was lower is because in 2023, we didn't have nearly the number of change in title and promotions, et cetera. The additional with regard to that is going to go towards providing business cards and stationery, things of that nature. So I would ask that the $1,000, despite the the previous expenditures, I would ask that it be maintained so that we can provide for those, so we can still get the books and subscriptions that we need.
But that was for books, but your cards and stuff should come out of office supplies, correct?
We traditionally have not. The office supplies, we generally consider those the consumable office supplies, paper, pens, tape, glue, highlighters, et cetera.
Council President?
Yes.
As the chief question. Chief, don't you also use those baseball type cards with the officers' names on them? Does that come out of this line item that the kids love?
It does not. That has traditionally been paid for by grant and through community policing.
Thank you, Chief.
Do you think 900 would be more acceptable? Could you do 900?
I haven't gotten a quote because we haven't instituted the other promotions, but we've got 5 promotions already for this year, and we're probably anticipating another 2 by year end. So I would be hazarding a guess if I told you I knew exactly how much it would be for business cards, but we figure about 100 or so business cards per officer per promotion. And I think that's a conservative number because the officers who are on the road give those out very consistently. I give those out consistently. So
Have you ever thought of printing cards in-house with our staff?
we did that one year. The problem with that was the amount of time that it took we didn't have anyone on staff who was very graphically proficient. And I don't know that we have someone on staff now who's up to that and making them look as professional.
I'm trying.
Yeah, I totally understand.
Well, we'll have to put the ink cartridges back in the budget.
Yeah.
The other thing that's
Right.
over there.
Yeah, and the card stock, et cetera, so.
So, okay. Just so I understand, the books that you're referencing, when an individual is promoted, they have to get a new set or an updated set?
I'm sorry, no, the books don't have anything to do with the promotions. Basically, the $683 that was spent last year was spent strictly on the books and subscriptions, our updated books. We generally get 2 of each one of those, so that's a total of 6 books that are updated versions, and they have to be. The statutes are always changing, the case law is certainly always changing. That book has grown significantly. So the overage that I'm asking for and asking that it be maintained is to provide for the things that go along with the promotions, which there's a significantly more number of those in 24 than there was in 23.
Thank you. So we have a motion, a second for minus 200 for 800. Roll
Would
call.
would
Oh,
you gentlemen consider 900? I mean, that's your 10% versus 20.
I would consider it. I'll revise my motion.
so we're going minus 100 now? If somebody seconds it,
Second.
they'll go into 900. Roll call?
Councilman Casio,
No.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Ullman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Police dues, meetings, and conferences, 401-25240-250, 6,500 requested, 6,500 recommended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Do we anticipate another trip to California?
No.
So, I mean, that was
That was the bulk of these dues.
2,200 or $2,100, $2,200. In lieu of that expense, are we anticipating other expenses?
The $2,200 I expect to be significantly less because the International Association of Chiefs of Police Conference is in Boston this year. So that would save the airfare. So that's what I reduced that by. With regard to the other conferences, those generally have to do with the New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police down in Atlantic City, as well as the Juvenile Conference. And there was one more. Yeah, the lead conference. We try to send our officers to any conference that is within state. And also the, like I said, the IACP, which will be in Boston this year.
Any other discussion? Roll call?
Count-
Oh, Strong, did you say something?
No, I mean, I would propose that it be reduced.
Oh,
I mean, if we're basing it on this, so there's, I don't know if Chief Calamari is, going to be a short timer, but there were expenses related to the former chief's departure. There was significant airfare hotel. So that event you plan on attending, but it's in Boston, so there would be no air or different
Correct.
type of airfare.
Correct.
I mean,
And I can tell you I have a 3-year contract, so
well, we hope to hear for 3 years.
thank you.
And then some.
Let's not be crazy. See how he does.
Salaries are only going up, so.
Will you write notice for that comment?
So,
Volunteered.
I would propose that we reduce it by $500.
you want to make it $6,000.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Yes. Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
No.
Councilman Ullman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
No.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Police office equipment repairs, 401-25240-270, 5,000 requested, 5,000 recommended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
And what keeps breaking?
Everything that's
What
25
doesn't?
years old,
Yeah. Where
computers that we burn out, monitors, I mean, there's.
Oh, that's a different one.
Yeah, it's a different one.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff. I mean, we're 24/7, 365 days. We use our stuff all the time. It's never not being used. It's not like a regular office that's 8 hours a day, just not.
So the wear and tear is significantly more.
So I appreciate that. It is a 24/7 operation. There's a backup server, a management of the server backups, which I don't consider equipment repair, and a replacement of a SPEN radio, SPEN radio. So were these repaired, replaced, and should that, the server service, should that be in another line? So,
There is a different line for computer equipment. This is one of those line items where I talk about where we have to escrow things. I hope I don't use it all. Traditionally, it does get used just because things break. And like I said, I try not to use it all. If I don't have to use it all, I don't. But if I don't have it and a critical piece goes down and we don't want to replace it, but we want to repair it, this is where it comes from, so.
can you just, we just did a significant upgrade with our radios. Is a SPEN radio or a SPEN radio, is that related to that upgrade?
That radio was not replaced. That was still our old radio that was over 20 years old.
And
What is the SPEN radio? Or-
That's
State
a
what?
statewide radio.
Statewide Police Emergency Network.
Okay.
That is what enables total interoperability between agencies. I don't have to have have the frequency or anything programmed into my radio. If I have to call, I'll just use it. If I have to call Fort Lee for some reason and get them in an emergent situation, we can communicate. We just pick up the radio and call on SPEN, and they pick up.
And you replaced that last year?
It was replaced or repaired?
It was repaired.
Yeah, it was repaired. That's why I came from that line, yeah.
Is it,
Yeah,
Is
I
it
mean,
worth-
it was so old that it just stopped transmitting on our dispatcher, so they were trying to transmit and it wasn't working.
so it sounds like it's an important piece of equipment. Do you know what a new radio is?
A new SPEN radio? We haven't priced it because it's not cheap.
I would say it would be upwards of $4,500.
Oh,
Upwards. And again, that doesn't quote me, but knowing what my mobile radios run, you know,
so the only thing I would say is if we have, a state-of-the-art communication now after the recent upgrades, if there's, it's only as strong as the weakest link, and this sounds like it might be. I mean, is it worth understanding what that cost is and just moving it forward?
Absolutely. And what I was thinking, and we haven't gotten into capital, but I'm providing some of that in capital because I don't want to put the cart before the horse. But with regard to capital, we also have an ask out there for some various upgrades with regard to the emergency service building so that we can have redundant dispatch. If we ever had an incident in the building, we could transfer operations over there. I was thinking of rolling it into that because over there, they would also need that. Obviously, like you said, it's an essential piece. So I was thinking of rolling it more into a capital item because it's an item that once I spend, I wouldn't expect to spend more on it going forward. So, so that's where I had anticipated that for that particular piece.
Okay.
I guess we'll get that in another line item, but I had a question about that.
Sure.
Any other discussion on this line item, ladies and gentlemen? Roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Omen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Police Medical 40125 240 280, 14,000 requested, 14,000 recommended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Why the big increase, Chief?
We instituted, an employee mental health wellness program a number of years ago. It's something that's becoming more widespread. Every officer attends a mandatory 1-hour counseling session. Well, I don't want to call it counseling session, a 1-hour mental health session with a qualified provider. And we do that every other year. The cost for that is $200 per session. So the cost is roughly $5,000 just for that. So that is the increase. That's something that I would anticipate moving forward. I would like to do it every year, but like I said, that's the reason for the increase from one year to the next.
Mr. DeCarlo, can our employee benefits coordinator look into it? Because I know state health benefits has, I know this is probably specific to PD, but they have online mental, like similar counseling like you're talking about, that's administered by a group for the state health benefits at no cost.
Do you have a comment on that, Keith?
Yeah, former Councilwoman Desiree Morgan did a significant amount of research on that, and she was not able to come up with the funding that was required. As far as getting it through any other source, we use the same company that provides for our psychological testing for new hires, et cetera. So we kind of prefer that just because police work being a specialized field with specialized consideration, we want people that are specialized in working with law enforcement.
Thank you.
And you said it's every year or every other year?
Every other year.
I would like it every year. We've been doing it every other year.
So what would the ask go to?
Well, this includes the ask, right, for this year?
No, if you,
For every year?
to do it every year.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mr. Ullman.
That number.
That number, this is the number for every year, because they're doing it this year.
I'm sorry.
We are doing it this year. We didn't do it last year. So going forward, so that number that's provided for in here. The remainder of that goes towards all of our psychological screening, health screening, et cetera, for new hires. And if there's ever any need for an existing employee to use those services or anything, that's what's
This number
provided for in
includes you
there.
having it done this year, correct?
Correct.
Everybody having a session.
Correct. Yeah. I would anticipate submitting the same for next year. I would like to see it done every year. I believe it's been extraordinarily successful. Some skeptical officers have come to embrace it. So
I think it probably is
It's a
a
smart
good
move.
idea. Just there's a line for police physical, and there's a number at the end of it, 2,400. Is that for one officer? Or is that like an invoice for
I believe that was two.
two?
Yeah, they're required for that before they attend the police academy, and we currently have two officers in the police academy. We have our SLEO 2 is attending the waiver portion of the academy, but it still requires a full physical.
Thank you.
Roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Ullman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes,
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Police copier expense 401-25240-290, 2,000 requested, 2,000 recommended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Ullman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes,
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Police furniture and equipment 401-25240-300, 4,000 requested, 4,000 recommended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
second.
Any discussion?
Would this be just for general upkeep?
Correct, to replace things that cannot be repaired. We haven't purchased as a total, the office equipment, desks, et cetera, are over 25 years old. The stuff in my office was donated. We got what do we get, about a dozen filing cabinets from the prosecutor. We make do with what we can, but this is so I don't capital something like that and come to you and say I need $50,000 in 1 year. I'd much rather replace things as they go.
Okay. I mean, 4,000 obviously is life support. But just want to be cognizant if we are thinking about a big spend that we may be doing something with the overall facility and maybe delay that large spend.
No, this is just, we're pretty much upkeep, our dispatch chairs, to give you an example, upwards of $700 a chair. Unfortunately, the business end of it, they charge you more. So if I got to replace one or two of those chairs, that's a huge chunk of it. And then the officers, desk chairs as well. Again, they're about 4 years old now, so again, we're in them all the time. equipment, they get torn up. So,
Where did your donations come from? When you say that some of the equipment is being donated?
The office, everything in my office was donated by a law firm that was closing. The dozen file cabinets we got were old leftover file cabinets when the prosecutor's office was redoing theirs and significantly upgrading. They put it out to the local PDs, and we took as much advantage of that as we can. So
That's common? Or?
is it common? No. We
it's rare.
so we understand. We try to stretch a dollar, and when we can, we make do.
Roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Ullman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Police interpreters calibrations, 401-25-240-320, 1,400 requested, 1,400 recommended.
So move.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Calibrations, what are they? The radar guns, the radar
That's the
detectors?
vehicles. So the vehicles get calibrated, so the speedometer is certified. This way, when you're matching what the radar says to the speedometer, you can testify in court.
Thank you.
It's also significant during pursuits. The MVR system, the video cameras record the speed, and it gets that from the speedometer. So to know the speeds that the vehicle achieved during a pursuit is critical for having a meaningful review of that incident.
Do they certify every vehicle?
The frontline patrol cars, not the cars that are used, the rear end cars that are used for details, the vehicles that are used for the SLEOs. We don't.
We don't put them on regular patrol anymore because they can't do it.
Yeah, they shouldn't be used for pursuits anyway.
Okay.
Roll call?
Hold on, Chief.
Oh,
Yes.
I'm just looking at the past spends in the 2021 and 20. Why were they so low?
2021, they suspended it for COVID. 2022, there was an issue with the company that we use. The owner, it's a sole proprietor kind of thing, and he had some health issues, so it didn't get done that year.
Okay. That's good.
roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Ullman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Police radio expense, 401-25-240-360, 22,000 requested, 22,000 recommended. It's a service agreement for all Motorola radios and the AvTech dispatch desk radios supported by quote. Didn't we just get all new radios?
And their original service agreement is over.
1 year. That's all they warranty for.
There was no way of extending that from the original purchase. We inquired.
What is each one of these radios worth and how many do we have, Chief?
I'll refer to my radio
So
guy.
your desk radios are minimum 60,000 each section. There's
Station.
two. That's under 20,000 right there. So if anything goes in that system,
It's covered by this one.
yeah.
And what about the handheld radios?
The handheld radios are still under warranty for the rest of this year. Then we'll need a service agreement for those. Those are the handheld portables are over $8,000 each.
So this is just a 1-year service agreement.
Yeah. So what we
So this is
did,
going to be an annual thing.
so what we did was that 20,000 includes our old radio system that we still had a contract with because it's so old. So we had them roll it in and give us one price.
So why are we keeping the old radio system if we
We have to
still?
have it as a backup because the road department still runs on it. They run on our old fire and our old PD is still in the background as well. The ambulance has their old frequency as well. They actually had a radio break on them. And finding parts for these things are,
Challenging.
so we have a good company that gave us a better quote than Motorola, and that's what we'd like to use, so.
So we're maintaining 2 complete radios
Systems,
systems?
correct.
You have your main, dispatch desk, and then you have your backup next to it. The backup is, we have a storm, excuse my language, all hell breaks loose, they can call another dispatcher or an officer, and they can answer phone calls while the other person dispatches. So it's redundancy in case the first one does go down as well. So we can still stay in-house and dispatch.
Do we also require the second, though, if I understood that, because we don't have TMF on the county?
Correct.
So
So we get a double use from that second backup or from the backup. We get a backup from the police and then we get the DPW.
I thought our backup for the police was the county dispatch, where our 911 goes.
No, that's not where.
911 doesn't go to county, it goes to Triborough.
I'm sorry, Triborough.
Yeah.
So I
that's
thought the
911.
backup was Triborough if we had a problem because all our 911 goes there.
Not for radio communications.
And the 22 for this year, for next year, we expect it to go up because it will cover the hand units as well?
That will be a separate service agreement. I don't have a price on that. It might not be worth it, honestly, once I get the price, we have to see. Because those are things that are not stationary inside, they're outside, they're getting weather, so I don't know what that contract would be. To be honest with you.
So, and I'm sorry, just amazes me that we spent that type of money and now we're spending this type of money. So what does this cover? Does this cover, I don't know, if there's a lightning strike and the system blows up, do we get it replaced? Is this insurance? Is this a service agreement? When they come in, so I have a service agreement on my AC, but if it breaks, when they come in and start replacing parts, I'm responsible for that. And I'm sure that's how our service agreement on the AC works here. Is this a service agreement? Is this just guarantee that someone shows up?
It is a service agreement and it guarantees that they will show up. The company that we're using shows up within an hour usually. Again, this is the same company that we're using with our old radio system. Now we just got them to roll in this service agreement instead of using Motorola directly. Motorola uses a separate company, which we don't really care for. But this will ensure that all the hardware and software is updated yearly as part of the agreement, and any repairs are done on the equipment. And they have stock of all the parts that we need because they're an Avtech dealer.
And I'm sorry, sorry to be so specifically. When they do those repairs, it's covered, the equipment, the hardware, any parts that they bring to the table, that's covered in the 22.
Yes, it's kind of like insurance. So,
Is there a service fee when they come out?
no, it's all part of this
Agreement.
agreement.
Any other discussion? Roll call?
We didn't do a motion again.
We did?
No,
We
we're
did.
jumping in. No, we're jumping in.
So moved.
So
Thank
moved.
you.
I'll second it.
Councilman Cassio.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Omen.
Yes, yes.
Councilwoman Velez.
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Police training 401-25240-370, 20,000 requested, 20,000 recommended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Why the big jump, chief?
The increase in mandatory training. Accreditation requires some, but the state is coming down with significantly more training, mandated training, and the availability of it just isn't there. I don't know if you're aware of the issue that the Bergen County Police Academy had. So their
Can you talk a little bit
Sure,
about-
sorry. Their in-service training has significantly curtailed, and the private sector is moving to fill the section. And this number still only accounts for less than $1,000 per officer for training. Those courses, the least expensive courses, are averaging $150 to $200 per day of training. We're up to what now, 72 hours of mandatory training. It's gotten significantly more expensive and challenging to meet those needs. The spend in '23, I knew this would be a discussion because it is an increase. However, the captain has a list. If you want to go over it, we can, but it's a very significant increase from the state. With regard, a big thing is licensing. For the first time, police officers in New Jersey are being licensed. We were all issued licenses at the beginning of the year. To maintain your licensing, the training requirements to keep up that licensing have increased probably about 20% for what they used to be prior, the mandatory training.
Thank you.
We did a motion.
Can I ask what the Rogers Group provides?
The Rogers Group provides 12 modules of training every year for every officer. They work it through Power DMS. Those are the Power DMS courses that we purchase. That's everything from pursuit and use of force training that's mandated to case law update. They put the courses together, they get them approved through the Police Training Commission, and then they issue them to us, personalized to us, that also reflect our SOPs. So anything individualized to the department that's in addition to the Attorney General mandates and the Bergen County Prosecutor's Office directives, that's where we get that training from. It helps us significantly to achieve that.
How many courses do officers on average take? Like
Minimum
training-
mandatory?
Training.
I'll refer to the captain for that.
So mandatory, 9 mandatory every year. Next year it'll be 10. Some of them are in-house, like you said, the Lexipol can provide those, and those are 12. So we get those 12. So, but then there's ones like active shooter, firearms. Next year is going to be defensive tactics. They're making it mandatory. That's going to be a minimum of 8 hours. That's going to be additional in 25. So there's just a lot. Like I said, we have 72 hours accounted for just the mandatory, and that's not even to keep up with the other stuff. And then next year we're guaranteed 80. So.
John, the CBA is required that we pay for your licensure.
That's not provided for in the CBA.
It's not provided for in the CBA. So
Correct.
technically, the township wouldn't have to pay for that because it's not provided in the contract, right?
I'm going to leave that up to the administration, but
Well,
I have.
the question is the CBA. The CBA is.
The CBA does not provide,
Okay.
the word licensing does not appear in the CBA.
Okay. But there are, how many courses required for that? Each per year?
Are we talking about the CBA, the CBA doesn't provide for the training for the courses, or are we talking about licensing fees? Those are different from training costs.
Training, and you said now you need a license every year, correct?
They're for 3 years,
For
correct?
3 years?
Yeah,
Okay.
the license is good
So,
for 3 years.
and that's
But to
not-
maintain the license, we have to show the Police Training Commission that the officer has
Right.
attended these
In order to get
courses
your license.
to keep their license, correct?
And that's nowhere in the CBA. It's
What's that?
Nowhere in the CBA.
That is, no, not that I'm aware of,
Okay.
And when was that instituted by the state?
this year.
2024?
2024 is the first. So the way it worked was everyone who currently has a Police Training Commission number and is employed as a police officer or has been employed in the last 3 years was issued a license automatically. Those licenses were done on a rotating basis that 1/3 of our department will expire at the end of this year, 1/3 will expire at the end of next year, and we have to relicense them. The relicensing requires a completely new background investigation be done on an existing officer. It requires a significant amount of paperwork, and we have to certify the training has taken place in order for them to receive the licenses.
Any new hires moving forward, there is a cost of $500 for that license.
To them,
Yeah, well,
right now.
Where
It stands.
does the well, maybe it's not the right, probably not the right form for the question I was going to ask. So There's no, so these are unfunded mandates coming down from the state?
I would characterize it like that, absolutely.
Like everything else in the state.
Just the background checks alone for an existing officer are going to take, and they prescribe what is in the background check now. It's going to take at least one officer 40 hours to conduct a background check on an existing police officer.
You said 40 hours?
Correct.
Wow.
Correct.
So an officer, 20-year officer has to have a background check.
A complete.
That is correct. Every 3 years, the license is good for 3 years. So when you submit the application for the license, and that's the Police Training Commission recommends that 40 hours based on what they prescribe as the mandatory things in the background check that have to be certified.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah,
Where's that money going?
it's the equivalent of a new hire for an existing officer to get these background checks. So it's a manpower thing. You know, that alone is going to account for 7 or 8 weeks of one officer's time. So
It has to be done by an officer?
it does. Correct. And officers specifically trained in background investigations.
Do we have one of those?
We have several.
Okay.
It's under training.
He's training himself to train.
This year also, our guys get trained in CPR recertification every 2 years. So they're due at the end of this year. So that's going to be included in this also.
Thank you.
That's why there's an increase.
There's a cost per officer.
Cost per officer, online training done by an outside agency.
Thank you. Roll call?
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
We're going to poke you.
Thank you. Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Omen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez.
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Police Chief's Uniform Allowance, 40125240390. 1,000 requested, 1,000 recommended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any discussion?
How about a second?
Oh, sorry. Roll call, second.
It's not that late.
It is for me.
It is late.
I believe it's contractual, sir.
Who's the?
That's correct.
Who seconded it?
Second.
I'll second it since I
Thank
screwed it
you.
up. Any discussion?
Sorry.
Roll call?
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Omen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez.
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Police Safety Equipment and Uniforms, 40125240400. 19,000 requested, 19,000 recommended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? I'll second it. Any discussion?
Sure. In 4 years, it went up 10 grand, so it's increasing steadily because of the idea, number of people, the uniforms,
Both of those things, the cost.
stitching.
The cost has gone up significantly for our items. It seems like every private vendor, as soon as you say it's for police or probably any government, but I only have experience with police, that the cost has gone up significantly. But there is also a provision now under accreditation that we provide officers with their bulletproof vests. And so those are $1,000 each. We allow the officer to upgrade it if he chooses, with the caveat that it always remains the property of the department. And what is the expiration? 5 years?
5 years.
Those vests are good for 5 years, and we have to mandatorily provide those. So that is the biggest reason for the increase in the expense.
So accreditation, just like the state has unfunded mandates, accreditation comes with unfunded mandates?
They're not mandates. They're only mandates if you want to be accredited.
So it's
They're standards that you have to meet if you want to have accreditation. I don't want to confuse the two. They are mandated if you want to be an accredited agency.
And it is best practice because then the department owns the vest, because technically that officer can't own the vest because the destruction of it is our responsibility. So there was some ambiguity back in the day because the officer paid for some of it. And we used some of the funds from our vest fund to offset that. So then technically the officer has claim to that, can't have that anymore. So.
Chief, I don't believe you knew this, but towards the end of our preparation, we did introduce $8,487 in the budget for body armor grant.
Okay,
Would that assist you in any way?
absolutely. Yeah, I was unaware of that, but thank you.
I'm sorry, Mr. DeCarlo, what was that grant?
It's called the body armor grant.
Did we receive that, Mr. DeCarlo?
Yes. So it's being placed in the revenue. It's also later on in the budget for $8,400 and, I'm sorry, $8,487. So I'm not sure how much that would offset you in that line. Safety equipment and uniforms.
We have almost half the department to do this year, so that's almost $10,000, so it takes a good chunk out of it.
Is that a one?
10,000 was included in this number, Cap?
Yeah, with the vest fund, monies that we get from the state, so this is a separate, I'm assuming, from that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you can.
So can we lower this by 8,000, being that we got $8,847?
That seems,
We got $8,847.
The increase was to provide for the revesting mandatorily. We were counting on our funds for that, which you get, I believe, through the grant. What was
Yeah,
it?
it's like $2,500.
Yeah.
It's still 75.
And also, just because I'm not aware of it, is this an annual grant or is this
Again, I think it's another one that totaled up, but that it was unappropriated.
because we hadn't used it prior
That's right. It had never been introduced into the budget. That's why.
and it's strictly for body armor, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why, you know, if we were to.
Can we lower it back to 2023?
In light of what I just heard.
so
Gentlemen, you're-
17,000?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
I'll make a motion for the 17,000.
I'll second that.
Can I just add, so I'm clear, because first, I fully support everyone having the best body armor they can. I'm just trying to understand, so you're required, or as part of maintaining the accreditation, vests have to be provided. They have a lifespan of 5 years, and you're looking to purchase for half the department this year or the entire department?
No, almost half the department.
Almost half. The second half will be taken care of next
That'll be
year?
in another 2 years.
Another 2 years?
Yeah, we're about 3 years apart.
Okay, so,
Half and the other half, and then we have a couple of
Stragglers. We try to do them in blocks.
yeah.
okay.
But now, being that we've done some hiring in the last couple of years, there's some people that are offset from that.
Would it be easier or would it make more sense to divvy it up into 5 and just roll them on a 5-year roll, or that doesn't make sense?
We can't because of where they're at now.
They all have
We'll be able to extend them.
they all have different expiration dates,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I don't want to phase out a vest that's still usable for another year or two. I just don't want to incur that expense. Theoretically, could we? But I'm truly worried that we would be disposing of vests that have another 2 or 3 years of life left in them to get them on that roll, because it's based on hiring dates. They have to have them for the police academy for range week, and so they're kind of rolled with hiring.
Okay.
It's also something that is personally fitted to each officer, so I can't take one from a retired guy and give it to a new guy, even if it has time left in it. So
What's the upgrade on that? You said, so if each vest is 1,000? What's the
That's
upgrade?
for the base model vest, basically.
the minimum protection level.
Yeah, they can go for a higher protection level, but it increases significantly and increases the weight and the bulkiness of the vest as well.
All right. Roll call?
We're voting for the 17,000, correct?
Yes.
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Oman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Police, oxygen and fire extinguishers, 401-25240-410, 1,700 requested, 1,700 recommended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Discussion?
Okay, so
Roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Ullman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Police equipment?
Council President,
Yes, Mr.
assuming you're ending at 10, we're just at a halfway point. Could we maybe take 5 minutes since we're at the halfway point, or?
Everybody okay with 5 minutes? Sure. Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
We just let Ricky know we're going to take a 5-minute recess. Police, equipment maintenance and licenses, 401-25240-450, $9,250 requested, $9,250 recommended. Anticipated vendor increase. Do we have a contract for that, Mr.
Roll
Oh,
call.
well, motion, sorry.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Carl, we have a contract for that? Or Chief, do we have a contract for that?
Yes, and I also have a note here, a line, so I did reorganize some budget lines. Some things were getting paid from lines that I felt was more appropriate. A line later on, which is software leasing, I actually decreased, and that is the reason for the increase here.
So where's software leasing?
Software leasing is later on.
Software.
It's on
vehicle
page
Oh, it's on the bottom of page
31.
11.
Oh, sorry.
31, 30, on the second line up on page 31. You took 2,900 out of that line.
Correct.
You still added more than that. So is that the increase on top of that, or?
It is. This pays for our InfoCop license, which is the service that the vehicles get for the MDTs. It pays for our fingerprint system for the service for that, our tuning fork calibrations, and yes, so the increase of the difference is the anticipated increase from the vendors. The same thing with the fingerprint software. That is also the original service agreement, which was purchased when we purchased it, has ended, and now we have to purchase an additional. It's not that it's nowhere near what the radio system is, I can tell you that.
Anything else, ladies and gentlemen? Roll call.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Ullman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez.
Yes.
Council President DeSanto.
Yes. Police medical supplies, 401-25-240-490, 1,000 requested, 1,000 recommended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Discussion? Roll call. Oh, sorry.
What is, seems like it's related to lifesavers? Is that just the AEDs, or is that the vendor for all medical supplies?
All medical supplies.
All medical supplies, this goes for all the oxygen masks, Band-Aids, bandages, anything that we have in our,
Pads.
yeah. We carry our medical bags, so whenever we go on an ambulance call, we need something, we have it.
Any other discussion?
A quick question. You guys carrying the Narcan
Yes,
on your persons when you go in?
they're in every one of those medical bags and in our defibrillators as well.
Okay, so if you go into a scene, do you have it on you, or do you have to go back and get it in the medical bag?
If they go to any medical call, they will have it with them.
If the nature of the call is a medical call, it goes in with them.
Okay.
Roll call.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Ullman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez.
Yes.
Council President DeSanto.
Yes. Police miscellaneous, 401-25-240-500, 8,000 requested, 8,000 recommended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Anyone second that?
Second.
Discussion?
This a big jump.
Yeah.
That was caused, I believe, because we were reimbursed for 2 radar signs that were struck by vehicles, and the reimbursement went into that line item. So the actual expenditure was much closer to the 7,500.
$3,549 was one. And $1,550 was the second. Those were credits.
That's 5,000.
And $2,500. So $2,550.
Mr. DeCarlo, can you talk in, please? I'm sorry.
It's all right. 2,500, 1,500, and that first initial number, 3,549.
When that was for radar guns?
It was all reimbursements of damage, yeah.
The two of the signs, those portable signs that we erected got hit. Yeah.
By motors.
Were they reimbursed? Was it insurance or?
Correct.
Insurance covers it?
Yes.
That's what that is?
Doesn't look like it was spent. but-
Yeah,
Okay.
they're fantastic, but in those locations, no pole or tree had ever been struck before. And as soon as we put those out,
They hit those.
So they get hit every year,
hope
2020, 2021.
hope not.
I see, well, I see the expense, so I was trying to understand what the expenses are for it.
The expenses under the miscellaneous line item are exactly that. They can be, they're anything. As you know, that's a catch-all. And that's for something that just doesn't fit in any of the other line items. It consistently is something that emergencies come up or something that wasn't anticipated. As a percentage of the budget, we try to keep it as low as possible. But again, that's an escrow account that if I need it, there's nothing else that'll take its place.
I believe we also take the car washes out of there to try to get the car washed.
That's correct. Yep. Yeah, car washes.
So, I mean, that's gone up. You know, unfortunately, if you go to get your car washed, they give us a discount, but you can see how much it is now. You get your car washed.
Please.
Is that a wash bay? At the new,
No,
EMF?
new DMF.
Any further discussion?
Well, last year they had $13,000 in expenses run through there. So,
Well, we ran it through there because we got the reimbursement of insurance funds, right? Or
no, I mean, the purchase isn't there. They're just taking the credit there. So we've, you know, if I'm reading the report right, we had 5,300 in, then we have to gross up to 5,300 by the 7,000 or 8,000 that we were reimbursed.
yeah, because we did buy the signs, right? Is what
Correct.
you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is,
No, you had the expense of the signs, but then you got reimbursed the money.
well, I don't know. That sign is not in this expense. The credit is in this expense. The original cost is not.
Oh, because it was bought previous years?
Years ago, man.
So that's just the new expense of buying a new sign from the insurance.
And it's not the full amount.
No.
They cost a lot
Right.
more than 2,500
Yeah, that's just what we got
Why
back
wouldn't
from insurance.
insurance pay the full amount?
depreciation on it.
No, the 2,500 is subrogation, right? So if it was someone else's fault, we'll get the insurance reimbursement minus our $2,500 deductible. And then through subrogation, they'll go after the faulted party. That's where that money is reimbursed.
So did we get our subrogation back, Mr. DePaulo, or not yet?
Yes, that's what that $2,500 is. And then,
So does that pay for a full sign, Captain? When we do that, like,
They're, I forgot what the total amount is now, but they're 4,300.
Yeah. Yeah, they're well over 3,500.
so it's close, so it's 43 and change, yes. We did pay for the full sign.
right, so on the Van Emberg speed sign, they gave us our subrogation, which is the 2,500. And then they gave us $1,550 on top of that. And then there was the Beach Street accident.
So we found to the three of us.
Shouldn't those just go into the general
Oh,
fund,
I didn't get the ticket.
those credits?
He lives around that, Jeff.
I'd have to do some more poking around. You know, unfortunately, I wasn't prepared to answer those questions. Reasonable questions, just wasn't prepared, so I'd have to do some poking around to see why we did what we did.
Any other discussion on this line?
Okay, John, just one question. On the billing, there's a thing for Maglo Glen annual user fee.
McLaughlin.
Sorry. Didn't print it right. What was that?
McLaughlin is, I don't want to butcher it, Mid-Atlantic, I can't even remember the acronym, sorry, it's so long. But what it is it's a cooperative that we subscribe to. And it has to do with Detective Bureau investigative work. It gives us access to databases, financial lookups. It also gives us access to some hardware for surveillance, as long as we can link it to a multi-jurisdiction. It's the big thing is the multi-jurisdictional. As long as something has any sort of multi-jurisdictional component to it, we can tap them for a lot of great resources. I use them consistently in the Bureau. Even just the financials alone are well worth the cost. It's just an asset and a resource that is like I said, it's a regional collective, and the MA is the Mid-Atlantic.
Doesn't seem like a big spend for that. Looks like a good bargain.
It is.
$400, that's great.
It's what they offer is fantastic.
Thank you.
Are any of these, so that service, and some of the ones we discussed earlier in the evening, can any of them be used on for towns, multi-municipalities? Or does everyone have their own?
Get their own membership for something like that. Every municipality pays for their own membership.
So the only thing I would raise is that, if I'm doing the math right, there was like 13,000 in miscellaneous. Could be doing it wrong.
Well, we were reimbursed $7,599. There's $3,100 encumbered. And there's $2,173 already spent. So, no, I would think, I understand how you're coming up with the 13. Mr. Corcoran, if you want to try a better explanation at the different columns.
Yes, if I may, if you take into account those three reimbursements, that 2173 is roughly 9,700. So, if those reimbursements didn't come in, that account would have been overspent by like roughly 2,200. If I'm doing it right now, I believe it's 2,200.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Oman,
No.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Police, guns and ammunition, 401-25-240-540, 20,500 requested, 20,500 recommended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it. Any discussion?
Yes, I can tell you that ammunition is quite expensive. It's gone up a good 20% since last year.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Oman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Police, 1033 program, 401-25-240-560, 10,000 requested, 10,000 recommended. Do I have a motion?
Oh, did you do traffic lights?
There's
Nothing there.
There's nothing there, Mr.
No, okay.
We got to do that.
No, we didn't.
That's thankfully we're out of that business
New
now.
speed,
Yeah.
new speed trap sign would be nice.
Do we have to, so,
I need a motion and a second for
So moved.
1033 program.
Second.
Discussion.
do we have any 1033 grants? Or
Anything on the horizon that you think we should get?
We're always looking, and if something looks worthwhile, like one of our pickup trucks, unfortunately, that we picked up, the engine was just completely dead, so we're just waiting for the year to, and then we sell some parts, and then so we're looking for a pickup truck through that program, and then we have to figure out transport costs to get it here. And then any repairs that we might need, turn it into a police vehicle, you know, lettering and stuff, so that encompasses all of that. You know, we get the tower lights, you know, gotta give them a tune-up. We actually converted one of them over to LEDs last year. That was like $3,500 just for the kit to convert them, so we get more life out of them, so.
Anything else, ladies and gentlemen?
Can we reduce that a little bit, Charlie?
Not if we want to take advantage of opportunities. That's my concern. We were actually recognized by Josh Gottheimer in his office for judicious use of it, for maximizing our return on it with regard to a $10,000 line item for what we've acquired. Reducing it reduces the ability to take advantage of it. You have my commitment that it's not used frivolously. It's used for I'm all about value. And if I can get value, I don't want it unless there's value in it for me. So reducing it reduces opportunity.
But this is for upgrading repairs, correct?
Some of it. That note was put in there
Right.
because in 23 it was.
Transport, right?
No, it does.
No, I'm saying that.
The 2023 number does include some transport.
Right, transport.
Yes.
That to me, that's important. You got me.
Yeah.
Go down to wherever it is, Fort Dix or wherever they have.
It gives us more range to get things from other bases where we can't drive to, because then we have it shipped to us.
Mike, did you have any further?
No, I don't.
Roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Omen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Police.
Excuse me,
Oh,
Council President, can we just go back to traffic light maintenance and repair?
sure.
So I realize it's zero, but when we did the new emergency service building, I was under the impression that there were going to be traffic control lights for the trucks entering and leaving.
That's what was presented to us and it didn't happen for some reason.
So I guess my question is, would this be where we would purchase them, or can we talk to the county about it, or is that?
I guess we need to have the administration talk to the county about it because it was part of the original agreement that they give us the ability to turn the traffic light green and red when we needed it, and they were going to put flashing lights that said trucks exiting or entering.
You mean at the new intersection?
No, there's two caveats.
Yeah, the first one.
The first one was they were going to give the firemen a remote that would operate the signal and change the lights
At the intersection.
which
Okay.
we don't have yet, right?
Well, let me stop you there because I just looked into it. County said upon further checking into it, the intersection is too far from the building. And so they no longer recommend, or they're out and out refusing to do it because they say it's too far.
But that was the recommendation. I mean, that was,
And then it was changed. I checked literally less than a month ago.
and then what about the flashing vehicles exiting and entering?
I didn't ask about that specifically. I can reach out and ask about that.
Because that was one of the things that was shown on the original plans was trucks exiting and entering the firehouse.
It will certainly help when we're backing up.
Yeah, that's what we were supposed to have.
Did they get a new ruler to measure?
Anything else on that, Mr. Ullman?
No, I'm sorry. Just didn't know where else to read.
Police computer supplies, 401-25240-820, 7,500 requested, 7,500 recommended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Omen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes. Police dispatch desk software licenses, 401-25243-000, 21,500 requested, 21,500 recommended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it. Any discussion?
Just why would, maybe that's where it belongs, but the duty billing, the timesheet calculator, why would that be at the dispatch? Or is that just where it is?
That was part of my reallocation. It's always been in there, and I didn't want to shuffle around too much to show line items. I didn't want to make anyone think I was playing a shell game, so I wanted to keep things consistent. It's not inappropriate there, but that is where it has landed traditionally, because back when officers were on the desk officer was pretty much the one who maintained the schedule, and so that's why it went in there when we went to computerized scheduling, and that's where it's lived since.
So we're saying there's going to be almost a $6,500 increase in vendor increase, Chief? Because we only spent $15,000 last year. We're looking for $21,500.
Yeah, I'm looking right now.
It's a big,
The voice and telephone recorder, that includes the service contract there. We weren't paying a service contract. They wouldn't give us a service contract on the old system last year. The new system does not roll in a service contract. You purchase it separate. So we purchased the new system last year, but now we need to get a service contract on that for the new voice recorder. It was replaced. The system itself was replaced last year. The hardware that runs the software itself was not replaced, but to get a service on the hardware and the system itself. But they wouldn't service it anymore. It was that old.
It's very expensive to upgrade. Maybe we should stop upgrading.
It won't work anymore, that's the problem.
Holy crap, man.
I don't disagree. It seems like everything has planned obsolescence built into it.
It's just, we're presented, and I don't think there's anything nefarious, but, we're presented a number, and I think many of us feel like we're biting off a big chunk and we're paying for it. And then right behind it, a year later, they have these short warranty lives, and all of a sudden, there are these bills coming in. And it's nothing, I'm sure if we dove into some of the other departments, it's the same thing. It's just, maybe it's more transparent here, but it just is a large number. And, maybe something we should think about in the long term when we talk about these things is, I don't know if it's possible to capitalize those maintenance agreements or negotiate them up front and include them in the original bid. But
We've taken a shot at that, and when it comes to public safety, they won't do it.
okay,
Because I agree completely. I would like to know the full cost of something over its service life.
sure.
And they give us 1 year and they won't quote the service agreements at that time. We tried extensively with the radios. We've tried extensively with this. So I couldn't agree more.
We try to negotiate with them for a lower price.
To try to capitalize it for the life of it, because I'm going to have to buy it anyway. So
Yes.
I completely agree with you.
Okay, thank you.
roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Omen,
Yes,
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Police, community policing website, 401-25244-000, 3,500 requested, 3,500 recommended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Is any of this covered by grants or trusts?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. I've just spoken with Laura down at the library, and there is some grant opportunity there. She's gotten some grant money, and we're going to work with her on a few initiatives, things that haven't traditionally, I was thinking in the past, but going forward, there are a few things that we can expand some community policing activity from money that she's gotten.
You know, I'm sure I'm not remembering right or misremembering. I think that was the term. I thought there was like a community policing grant. So
I think that's for the Junior Police Academy, correct? I'm looking for it now, what it was called. I think there may have been a trust that Mr. Ullman is referring to.
I mean, it's fine. I don't think it'll make.
No. I don't remember getting a grant for the Junior Police Academy.
Not grant, I think he's referring to maybe a trust account.
There may have been a trust account because things were donated for the purpose of community policing. I allow my community policing officer to govern that, and there was an account that had received donations specifically for the Junior Police Academy.
Right.
Yeah. It was a general, I remember some of the things that were purchased out of that, and it generally comes down to, things like water, T-shirts and bags, that kind of stuff. It's been supplementing those.
Wasn't there money out of Municipal Alliance for the Junior Police Academy?
When we use that also. Yeah. Yeah.
It's an additional thing.
The $3,500, we spend significantly more from whoever we can partner with. They generally come on board with additional funds, and this is what we.
Roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Ullman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Police vehicle acquisitions, 401-25245-000, 180,000 requested, 180,000 recommended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, well, why would you Tahoes all of a sudden?
I have my two vehicle guys next to me, and I'll let them explain.
Tahoes are way better vehicles in our opinion. They seem to be a lot more reliable than the Fords were. However, in both cases, Fords and Chevys right now, it's very difficult to get them. We're still waiting on the ones we ordered last year. So we still haven't gotten it. So, and unfortunately that puts more wear and tear on the fleet because we're not getting that new vehicle in there to help spread the load, so to speak.
So we got a new Tahoe last year, Captain?
No, we did not.
We were supposed to get, we ordered one.
We ordered one, we're still waiting.
And how old are the other Tahoes that are in the park?
2022 was the last time we got new vehicles.
And how many of those are there?
Two Tahoes.
So we have 3 Tahoes that are less than 2 years old.
No. We have two Tahoes that are less than 2 years old, and then I have a 2020 Tahoe.
But we have a brand new one technically that we paid for, but we just don't have it.
Correct.
That we're waiting for.
Yeah,
When do we anticipate getting that one?
I was told that the first batch of orders may be coming in right now, and that we may get it by June.
Because then it
Just to
has to-
clarify, we haven't paid, we've encumbered the money.
We encumbered the money from last year, but we haven't. And this is the problem across the state, unfortunately, with GM and Ford and everybody else having their strikes and stuff, and on top of COVID, shutting down plants, retooling, we get every excuse in the book. We're just not getting the vehicles.
In my experience, the Tahoes are a more robust vehicle. And what I'm hoping for is that, as you remember, Steve, we've traditionally come and asked for 2 vehicles every year. What I'd like to see it be is 2 vehicles one year, 1 vehicle the next year, 2 vehicles. So I expect them to have a longer service life And I think our experience right now, the oldest one is what, 2019?
2020.
2020. And it's still doing well. I believe it's doing much better than a Ford of the same vintage would be doing. So that was the reason for the switch.
At the end of their life as well, resale value is a lot higher.
What's the lifespan? So the 2020, when do you think that one will expire?
In our department, the lifespan is probably 10 plus years because that's what we keep our vehicles. A viable patrol frontline vehicle, 3, maybe 4 years. Then you're gonna have too many miles on it, you're gonna have to wind up with a lot of issues.
Is the delay because it's a Tahoe or?
No, it's a delay.
Ford's
Whether you
experience.
get a Ford or you get a Tahoe. The only thing that we've heard is in stock right now are Dodge Durangos, which don't have a great rating either, so.
So do we,
It's a universal lament. I was just with 24 chiefs in the last, and nobody can get cars. People that are ordering 10 and 12 cars get 3. So it's across the board.
so 2 questions. Do we have an aging schedule of the fleet?
It's definitely not one that's written in stone because each one, depending on the use it gets, is relative. I've seen these guys maximize a vehicle's life. We would hate to phase something out. That's kind of like how the 1033 program survives. They phase things out that still have a useful life. We try to get every mile and every hour of life out of these things. So I wouldn't, because our fleet is small enough that they know every vehicle intimately, I trust them and they're in a good position to say when a vehicle is still viable versus when it's not.
So how many frontline vehicles do you need to operate the department efficiently?
7.
How many
We currently have.
we currently have 7.
7.
Correct.
And when we get the new one, that'll make 8.
Yeah, well, some of the older vehicles that have high mileage on will then go to the back end of the rotation, and we can hopefully retire like a 2010 Ford that we have that's got high mileage on it. But it primarily gets used for like outside details and stuff. It makes us money right now, you know.
So so last year we got one vehicle, we budgeted 75,000, and I guess we covered the 67,000 of the state contract, because that's what the cost of the Tahoe was. And the rest would be the
That's for just the vehicle.
and the rest
That's
would
just
be,
for the vehicle.
and then the rest is the outfit.
And for the upfitting, yeah. And then we haven't even swapped over radios, put the radar in it, put the video system in it, put the cargo box in the back. You know, put the,
Well, we're jumping another 15,000 this year.
So does that mean that there's an increase in the vehicle? Is it
we were told on upfitting to estimate at least 20 to 30% increase on the upfitting alone. That's the lights, the cage, you know, all that stuff. And then
Are there
you have your
new
cargo box,
regulations?
you know, what's that?
Are there new regulations that you have to do anything different, and that's why it's more costly?
It's just the market right now.
That's what the vendors are charging.
Yeah.
They've upgraded it
These are state contracts, correct?
for the vehicle and the equipment, yes.
So I don't know if you gentlemen can or the administration, so up to 2021 and actually through 2022, we were leasing our vehicles. Last year, it looks like we did 1 lease and 1 purchase, and now we're doing all purchases.
So last year, the one lease was just making the final payment on the 2022s, which were leased.
So it was a 2-year.
It was a 3-year, but we wanted to pay it early, so.
But did we keep that vehicle or?
Yes.
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 The
They were
the
leased.
two tops,
They were leased to buy.
They were leased to buy, so
So why aren't we leasing to buy now?
we spread it over 3 years that way, but it, you know,
The fleet at that time had gotten severely compromised. We had gone a while with these cars beyond what should have been their service life. So at that time, it was agreed that we would upgrade several more cars than we usually do.
when we did it, it was the catch up. because we were in such a hole with cars. So that one year, we got 5 cars, basically.
Oh, okay.
And that's why we were able to, by using the lease, we spread it over 3 years.
So is it the same cost essentially? Is it just a matter of spreading it out?
You pay a finance fee.
For the lease to purchase.
So
That's why we did
it would
this.
be slightly higher.
That's why we decided to get out of that.
You're gonna have the bank that's giving you the loan, basically. You make your prepayments, and then at the end, it's $1, and it's yours, and you usually waive $1. It's the way the lease to buy works.
It's mighty grand of them. Should find more banks like that that are willing to waive those dollar fees. I mean,
I'd make a motion, we buy one vehicle this year.
I was gonna say the same.
I'll make a motion to buy one for 90,000 this year and then buy another one next year. It's just too much of a hit in that line item to buy 2 this year. So I make a motion to make this one vehicle at 90,000. Do I have a second?
I'll second it. Hopefully get them within a reasonable time, because we might get our last
We
one
don't
from
have
last
the one
year.
from last year,
So
so.
I might get it in 5 years. Who knows?
And putting in for one, they do put you at the back of the line, I'm not gonna lie. I talk to these people that order, multiple units, they tend to get more, so.
The only comment I'd like to make is if we are going to go in that direction, we'll be addressing a vehicle repairs line. And I had done that amount based on getting 2 new vehicles. So I would respectfully request at that time we consider increasing it due to the increasing age of the fleet. So
Any discussion?
So I don't disagree with you, Mike. The one thing is, truly understanding where we are in the cycle of the 7, and that one hasn't been delivered. So even though we're only buying one, you'll effectively receive 2 or this year, or you may receive 1 this year from last.
And one next year. And then we budget for another one next year, so we're always going to be
We're always
behind.
gonna be behind one.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
And the
I
fleet's gonna get slowly older.
We got 7 vehicles now. We should have 8 by sometime this year and then 9 for next year.
Mike, may I ask them a question?
Yes.
Guys, the one we haven't gotten yet, are we price locked on that, or?
On the vehicle, yes, we already got an increase for the upfitting.
Okay, but the vehicle itself, we're price locked
That
on?
was good for last year, I already got hit with that. It went up $1,000.
Yeah.
And if we wait another 6 months, it might go up again, so.
Yeah, I mean, I want to point that out as, even if we don't allocate the money this year, next year, the prices will go up like everything else is.
Absolutely.
So just want to point that out that, hey, if we do it this year, at least we get a price lock on the vehicles.
right now, I'd be more interested in revisiting it. This gives us the purchasing power to go out and order 2. And if we get those 2, we can revisit our status next year. That's my concern, is this whole supply chain thing really has us messed up, and being able to order 2 this year and hopefully gets us what we need. And I'd be much more comfortable getting the 2 this year and revisiting it next year and see how we did. That would be my comfort zone.
Thank you.
So potentially next year's vehicle will be 105,000, right? If it's 90 now, we're going up by 15,000.
Well, that's 90
a little
plus, it's 67,000 for the vehicle, and the remaining 23,000 is for the outfitting. So let's,
So
yeah. So
just it'll keep increasing.
I think everything's gonna go up. I agree with you on that, but I think we can't afford 2 vehicles this year.
Right, I would like to add also, 3 of the Tahoes are new vehicles, primary, have low mileage. The other Explorers, I know one of the vehicles has 100,000 miles, and that's a primary. The other 2, 3 have 80,000 plus miles. So you got to figure by the end of the year, they're going to be over 100,000 miles on 3 or 4 of the primary vehicles. So, how long is that engine going to last? Transmissions, you're talking big dollars.
That kill those vehicles, unfortunately.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a big, those are the primary means for us to respond. And it's one of the biggest priorities, one of the most critical priorities. So I would urge a reconsideration of the one vehicle and respectfully request 2 for this year, and then revisit it next year. But based on this supply chain thing, I'm really concerned. I'd be more inclined to request 2 vehicles this year. And Council President DeSena, I heard you say 1 vehicle this year, 1 vehicle next year. And I do get budget constraints, I really do, but I have a big concern that if we don't order 2 this year, it's going to set us way back. You have my commitment that we could revisit this next year in its entirety, and at that point, if we were able to pull 3 vehicles in this year, we could certainly see where the state of the industry and the state of the business is at. But I have a big concern because, like I said, those. They're not just the officer's primary office. They're how we get to where we're going.
Would you consider a Tahoe and a second vehicle, a smaller vehicle?
I'm going to refer to the captain on that. He stays more current on the actual industry outside of what we have.
Yes, the price difference is not as large as you would think. It's only about $5,000. The difference between a Tahoe and, say, a Ford Explorer. Because we do have some officers that, are small in stature and need a smaller vehicle. So we would definitely consider getting a smaller police interceptor type vehicle.
But it's not that much cheaper.
It's like $5,000 is the difference between a Ford and a Chevy. That's what it is. So, saving a whole lot. The upfitting is going to be the same.
It's the same.
The install for all the stuff is going to be the same. The boxes are going to be the same. They're all, it's really just a difference in the price of the car.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call for the 1 vehicle, please.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
I'm
Councilman-
sorry, what are we, so what's the
90,000.
90?
Councilman Sears.
No.
Councilman Omen.
No.
Councilwoman Velez.
No.
Councilman DeSena.
Yes. Any other, like to make another motion?
Make a motion, we buy 2 of them at the price of $180,000.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Councilman Casio.
No.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Omen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez.
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
No. Police car cameras 401-25245-001, 2,500 requested, 2,500 recommended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it. Any discussion?
Is there a particular reason why it wasn't utilized last year?
Yeah, we had no repairs until the beginning of this year, and we had to replace a DVR, and it cost $1,500.
So we made it through the calendar year.
We made it through the calendar year, and then in January, it died.
It died right on
And
Tuesday.
we had to
It was the
get a
first,
new one right at the
it was the
beginning.
first voucher I signed.
Yep.
It doesn't look at the calendar to know when it should go.
It does not.
Did you say DVR?
Yeah, it's basically the DVR is the brain for
Yeah.
the system.
No, we still use that.
Yeah, the lenses and the cameras are fine.
Okay.
Roll call?
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Omen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez.
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Police computer software leasing, 40125246000, 25 requested, 25,000 recommended. Do I have a motion? I'll make the motion. Somebody second it?
Second.
Any discussion? This is the line item that the chief said they moved 2,900 out of into the other line.
Okay.
Any discussion, Mr. Holman? Roll call?
No.
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Oman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Police pistol range rental, excuse me. 40125248000, 10,000 requested, 10,000 recommended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it. Any discussion?
Just, we can't go to North Arlington more?
We can't get North Arlington more. Everybody's using North Arlington, including Jersey City.
Where do we go now?
So we split, we do our pistol, our handgun, I should say, qualifications in Paramus, and we do a rifle in North Arlington. So it's become increasingly difficult to get days at North Arlington. We're going at night. Where sometimes it's difficult to capture daylight. Like last week, we were there, after 3 o'clock, so we only had until, thank God the light has changed a little bit now, but we try to grab as many days as we can North Arlington because it gives us more flexibility there. But unfortunately, there's going to be an increase. We're expecting an increase from Paramus and possibly North Arlington as well. They become too popular now, and large departments are using them. Where when we first started using them, we were one of the first ones to go in there as a smaller department. Like Westwood uses them now too. The Bergen County SWAT team uses them. And then, like I said, Jersey City's had to shut down their range from there every single day.
And this is, it's somewhat self-evident, but there's no range that's provided for by the county? Or do they have a range?
They do have a range. It is very difficult to get on their range, especially for rifles. They only do it once a month. It's usually the first week, and you have no flexibility. So we started there, and so if I would go there with my guys, I'd have 4 or 5 guys that have to do their rifle, and if there's 2 or 3 other departments there, we all have to do the same thing. You can't deviate, so I can't do any kind of additional training. All I can do is call the line the way it would go just for the qualification. So I can't do any practice, I can't do any active shooter. We utilize North Arlington because we get that range, and then we can do whatever we want. We also do our taser there, we do our OC as well. So it works out a lot better, and it's relatively inexpensive.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
really inexpensive.
Yeah.
Yep.
But we were whispered that it was going to probably go up. So they're looking to do some upgrades. Paramus is doing upgrades as we speak. So typically after the upgrades, we get an increase.
Roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Oman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Police Nixle, 40125250100, 4,500 requested, 4,500 recommended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it.
No.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Oman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. We're gonna do OEM, I guess?
Council President, if you don't mind, since the chief's here, in case he has a comment about that OEM miscellaneous expense.
That's what I was gonna do.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I just asked if it was all right to do OEM.
Thank you, sir.
OEM, other miscellaneous expenses, 40125252200, 6,000 requested, 6,000 recommended. Do I have a motion? I'll make the motion. Somebody second it? Somebody second it?
Second.
It's a request of additional 3,500 to upgrade light tower lights to LED, brighter and more efficient. Any other discussion?
Wasn't that in the 1033?
We did the one, how many do we have that we have to
We have
do?
two.
So we did one last
We did
year,
one last year. Yep.
but didn't that come out of the other line last year? So why are we taking it out of this line now?
That's OEM, and they have their own, they purchased new, and we got additional through 1033. I'm not comfortable discussing OEM because it's not my department.
Mr. DeCla-
That's, I don't want to counter the chief, but that's not how I understood it. I understood it as, it was a 1033.
Speak up, please.
I understood it that it was a 1033 piece of equipment. However, accounting for 3,500 out of the 10,000 approved would bring you down to 6,500 for anything new. So when we had discussed it, we had discussed, rather than asking for 13,000 and 1033, that adding the $3,500 expense for the new lights in OEM.
I won't doubt it. I'll just say I don't recall it. That's all.
Yeah,
It's.
We knew we were
I-
going into this year with that expense. So in other words, it would essentially bring down the approval of the 10,000 you just did for 1033 program, start them off with only 6,500. So knowing, and
Right.
we were able to buy, we had 2 towers that we needed to do that too. We were able to do 1 last year.
Yes, that I am recalling. Yes.
We wanted to do this.
I apologize for my lack of recollection.
No, that's
That is
okay. I just
accurate.
didn't want
Yeah.
to make it look like we weren't in the same.
So what is going on? This is for the additional light tower, correct?
Correct, to upgrade the other one. I do recall them buying the other
We
light
have-
tower, and that's why I apologize. One is OEM and the other 2 are ours,
We have
correct?
3. I thought 2 were 1033s. we had
That is
to-
correct.
And
Yep,
then we just bought a brand new one.
that is correct.
Last
And
year.
yes, and OEM agreed to pay
So the
for
two that
to
we-
upgrade it, the other one to an LED.
Right. So the
Correct.
2
I
that we
apologize.
owned were from 1033.
So we bought a new one that's not LED.
No. We bought a beautiful brand new one.
That is LED.
So we have a total, we have 2, OEM has 1.
Okay.
OEM agreed to assist us with upgrading the other one that we acquired through 1033. We upgraded one, and OEM's going to upgrade one for us. And like I said, now I recall the whole conversation. I apologize.
What are these, where are these deployed?
Any special events where it's, after dark, they've been used extensively for the concert, some of the summer concerts. They were used for tree lightings. They're also good to have. We've used them for some crime scene incidents, a few that were that went through the night. So it's, as a matter of course, they're used for community events. As a matter of emergency or response, I hope we use them as little as possible. But we have made use of them for some of the more higher profile incidents that we've had.
If we have a storm, takes out power, we can throw them in an intersection, light up the intersection at least, so people are not going into a dark intersection.
Highlights the stop signs.
Mike, may I ask them a quick question?
Sure.
Do those units also have generators so you can plug things in also, correct?
They do, correct. Yeah, they can operate without the lights
Right, okay.
as standalone generators.
Thank you.
Where is OEM situated? And the only reason I ask is there's a cable service for them as well as for the police department.
They have an office on the 3rd floor.
And their cable isn't covered by building or?
We split it up between the 3 accounts, OEM, police, and DPW.
So this is only a third?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other discussion, ladies and gentlemen? Roll call.
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Omen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes.
If you wanted, I'm sorry to interrupt you again, sir, but ambulance GIF premium, that's given to us that number. If you want to do that one, and if you want to do first aid contribution, real quick, it's up to
Yeah.
you.
First aid organization contribution 401-25-260-000, 40,000 requested, 42,000 recommended. Do I have a motion? And for which one?
First aid contribution for 40K, motion.
I'll second that. Any discussion?
Is this for the ambulance fund?
No, that's a separate line somewhere else. I think we fund that like at 10 grand a year, if memory serves correct.
Yes.
So this is for their operational expense?
Yes.
Roll call?
Question?
Sure, Mr. Sears.
If we're funding 40,000 for what's 42 now, when they were in the old building, now they're in the new building, and we're paying their electric, their heat, do they still need to carry 40,000?
If you'd like to make a motion to reduce it, you can make some.
Well, just a question.
I mean, when I, excuse me, when I respond, Mike?
Yeah, go ahead.
When I upped it to 42, as you can see, it's been 40,000 for a while. We all know the price of things is going up. So to me, even though the town is absorbing that, it's a way to keep them, current with what 40,000 used to buy in 2019, as opposed to what 40,000 buys today.
Anything else, Mr. Sears?
No, thank you.
Roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Omen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
We're voting on the 40,000.
Yes, the 40,000.
Okay, yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Ambulance GIF premiums 401-25-260-200, 6,095 requested, 6,095 recommended. Do I have a motion? I'll make a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second. Is that, I'm assuming that's a
contractual amount?
an invoice?
It's an actual.
Roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Omen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes.
Okay.
Capitals in the orange tab, right?
Or did you want to do
There's
police
tires and
vehicle
stuff like
repairs and
Oh, I'm sorry.
tires and gasoline? So I
What
think
page is that on? I'm sorry.
45, it looks like, is their first one. No, 44 for police tires.
45.
44, sir.
44? Uh, 44, where are we? Vehicle, police vehicle tires, 401-26315-001, 7,000 requested, 7,000 recommended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it. Any discussion? Roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Omen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Police vehicle equipment and repairs, 401-26315-004, 19,000 requested, 19,000 recommended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
What does that note mean?
It says anticipate expenses for 2024 already, so you guys must have mentioned to me that there's already repairs in the works for vehicles that you knew of coming into the year.
I mean, we have oil changes that come every 3-4 months.
I think it was more substance than that.
But there's a lot. I mean, again, our older fleet costs us more. You know, we got wheel bearings going, we got, you know, front ends that need to be repaired. We had several vehicles at the OBD ports where the computer plugs into, just stopped working in the Fords. They had to be fixed and replaced so that the cars can get inspected, because now that's the only thing to check. You know, and every time you do that, it's what, $1,000?
Yep. But brake parts are, you know, have doubled, you know, a great job from the county. Now you have to remember that all our repairs are being done down the county. You know, it's not our DPW mechanic doing. So just a brake job, you know, is $1,500 to $2,000 a vehicle. So, you know, you're putting 20, 30,000 miles a year on a car, you're getting a brake job on every car once or twice a year. So just all the expenses, you know, increase substantially.
So I understand that there is a escalation in the cost of the items, but at the same time, aren't we experiencing the same level of repair? I mean, isn't that the whole idea of buying new cars, putting them on the front line, and allowing them to age and age out? So yes, we have to put brakes on car A, but last year we put them on car B because car B was on the front line. So like, are we experiencing a $5,000 escalation in the cost of the repairs, or do we anticipate more repairs? Because one, quite honestly, neither I fully agree with, you know. So if costs are going up, 5,000 seems like an awful lot. And if the repairs are going up, shouldn't we have a baseline that, you know, is constant?
Well, just pretty much everything is, you know, oil changes, you know, on every vehicle. That's $100 a vehicle, you know, pretty much. And we're doing oil changes, you know, every 3,000 miles on these cars. So, you know, everything just compiles. And
How many cars do we have?
what do we have, 15 cars? 15 total cars, you know,
15?
and 15, yeah. Now, you know, some of those are outside billing vehicles, but for every hour one of those vehicles is running, it's equal to 30 miles of, you know, actual driving time. So, you know, they're getting the oil changes also. So, you know, you're talking a lot of money here, and we barely made it last year. And, you know, with the,
Doesn't the outside billing, shouldn't the outside billing be taking into account the wear and tear on those vehicles?
Oh, it generates quite a revenue.
that's on the bigger repairs, you know.
I was
Well,
just,
we don't use it, we can't use it to supplement those lines, but we do account for it as a revenue.
So when the car's out there, it's making money.
okay, that's what I was
But we
wondering.
don't get that money.
Right,
No, but it's going back to us to pay this line item.
right. So it's, you're making money with that outside
We're
bill.
not making any money, but we're making.
Yeah.
I would just hope you get your vehicle sooner and so you don't have to use all of this, but I think you need it in case you don't, so.
And that's part of this, is because we didn't get that other vehicle last year, we don't know where we're gonna be this year. You know, if we get all 3 vehicles this year, then that number potentially could go down, because then, you know, the fleet stays younger instead of aging more. And again, like I said, we have a 2010 that's still on the road, you know, and for a police vehicle, that's very old.
Also, three of the cars in that fleet are used strictly by the fleet of 3 officers. They go back and forth, they come to headquarters and they take the vehicle to the school. That was part of an agreement with them for the visibility factor, so that if the car is there, people know there's a police officer in the building. It's been done as an obvious deterrent, but we maintained 3 additional cars that we had up until just 2 or 3 years ago with the implementation of that program. So
That's minimal use, minimal expense on those vehicles.
I just, when you hear 15 cars, I want you guys to know what accounts for that.
That includes those three, include the 15 are
Correct.
included? Okay.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Omen,
No.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes.
Sir, just page 57, police gasoline is left.
Police gasoline diesel 40131460001, 35,000 requested, 35,000 recommended. Do I have a motion?
So move.
We barely touched 30,000 last year. Is there, I guess we did drop it 5,000.
Unfortunately, it's a very volatile number through the year.
Correct.
Need a second, please?
What did you want to bring it down to? I'm sorry.
I just asked if it went down 5, it's already reduced 5,000. I was wondering if we could make it 32,500.
Second, please.
Oh, somebody got a second. The original.
Second.
Thank you.
I'd make a motion to reduce it to 32,500.
Do we want to, discussion now?
Yes. Well, if somebody second my motion or no?
Yes, we second.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No.
To
the original was
discuss.
Tom and that, yeah, the original was Tom, Councilman Sears and Councilman Casio. Councilman DeSena made a motion to reduce it to 32.5. Do you have a second on that?
Yes, Mr. Cassie.
Okay.
Do we want to jeopardize knowing the price of fuel is going up that towards the end of the year?
July 1st?
July the 1st, we're gonna have to pull money around. I mean, it went up 9 cents in 3 days. It was crazy, and it's still going up. I mean,
We're still
we
buying
did
it
this
for
one,
ourselves.
if you remember, we did this once before, and we caught the short end of the stick towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
If you remember, we did this.
If you look at the
a couple
two line
years ago.
items underneath, you did fully fund those even though, they hadn't been fully used in the prior year. So on the police's behalf, I would ask you give them the same consideration.
Yeah, but the DPW lowered theirs by 10.
It's also high.
Right. Their usage is also higher, so.
Whose usage is higher?
Well, DPW used 36,000
Yeah,
last
that's
year,
what I'm
police
saying,
only
but
used
yeah.
29.
And don't forget, they also got a truck in the shop for a year. It's not being used.
What's the tax now on gas? It's going to be 2 cents, 1 point, what is it?
It's
2
gonna be another
cents?
2 cents per
2
gallon.
cents for every
I
gallon?
don't know that we
But I
pay
don't
that
think we
since we
pay
buy
that.
from the county.
We don't pay that in
Okay.
the county. We get a different rate than, Mr.
Yeah,
Sears, we're not paying the
pump rate.
the pump rate because we're
Right.
buying in bulk from the county.
But
So-
we're still gonna pay higher. and that's-
But it's not nowhere near like you said. It ain't,
No,
not going up
but
9 cents a
we're
day.
gonna pay more. And you remember, we got caught a couple of years ago, towards the end of the year.
There's also that outside billing factor where some of that goes to those and again is
I mean, we
regenerated.
should be on the safe side.
Okay. Motions for 32,500, roll call.
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
No,
Councilman Omen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
No.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Any other line item back here, Mr.
I
DeCarlo?
believe we're good, sir. Capital would be next.
Okay. The orange tab, ladies and gentlemen. So in the 3-year capital plan, we really need to put cars in this because it's showing new vehicles, none. Mr. DeCarlo, Mr. Mayor? And, we had 2 vehicles tonight that weren't in the
Well,
capital.
it's because they're not capital, we fund them out of operating.
But we should show like an expense there, like at least, we should somehow show them, even if it's coming out of it's a big expense.
Not disagreeing with
Nobody's
that.
saying it's not warranted, but
Mhm.
we should show it as a projected plan or something.
I would be more inclined to show it in the notes area for that line item.
That would-
I wouldn't want to confuse this since it's
Yeah.
solely capital.
So police, we have stationary ALPRs estimate $125,000. What is that, chief?
That's for Washington and Pascack and Ridgewood, both intersections. There would be 4 cameras, one pointing in each direction at both intersections. And we purchased the hardware and we partner with the county on running the back end and the software. Those ALPR cameras are operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, capturing license plates that are moving through the intersections, running literally every single plate. All that information is processed and stored at the county. We have access to it anytime we want. By getting in on that program, we also get access to everybody else's ALPRs, their video, their plate records, etc. Every surrounding agency is deploying cameras in some capacity. Some surrounding agencies are employing up to 30 in their towns. Those 2 intersections being the primary thoroughfares in Washington Township, very little goes on that doesn't pass through those intersections. The handiness of it, the intel that it gathers, we all know that this community has faced significant influx of people coming in with things like the catalytic converter thefts, the motor vehicle thefts. They're coming in vehicles. We also have a couple by the Garden State Parkway that are not ours. We don't own them. We didn't purchase them. The county did. We don't have access to that system. We can get it, but we don't have real-time access. So the county even recognizes the importance of Washington Township as somewhat of the gateway to the Pascack Valley. And by getting the plates that roll through there, they also take videos of the actual vehicle so that the plate matches the vehicle. And it's not just criminal intelligence. You all remember the trunk incident that happened a couple weeks ago. Had we had ALPRs in place, we could have closed that entire incident within 2 hours at the most, because what I tell people, we're consistently getting great video from our residents of vehicles in the street, but we're getting no plates. And the picture of a white Toyota when there's 30 other white Toyotas on the road in Washington Township at that same moment is not really usable. But if any of those vehicles went through one of the intersections and we had a plate, the intelligence that gets us is invaluable.
So you're saying we can't get that from the county right now, or we could?
We can, but not in real time. We would have to.
Not real time.
We would have to do a Monday. We would have to do a Monday through Friday request of the vehicles that went through there, that ran through there, because it would be handled. We don't have access to the real-time information through the system because we're not a signature to the system.
So who would be monitoring this real-time system? Or we would just monitor?
It's not a case of monitoring, it's a case of access.
We would be able to go right into the system and pull up any plates that went through, say, Washington, Pascack.
For a given time frame.
And then we'd be able to
view the video.
We're talking about Ridgewood and Pascack.
And Washington and Pascack.
And the one at the Parkway.
Those are already there.
Would we have access to that?
We would have access because now we would be
No, but
partnering in the system.
Cameras.
If we bought the system, we would get access to
Correct.
that. We wouldn't have
Correct.
to do a.
That more real-time access, correct.
Understood.
These have been a priority for me for a long time. And I understand for various budget reasons that, they've been put off, but they are a big priority. They're a cornerstone piece of technology that we're really late to the game on.
Is there any Gottheimer grant, Mr. DeCarlo, that we can go after for this money?
Not that I'm aware of. We have talked to the grant writer on several occasions, and
Yes, I've talked to him as well, trying to spearhead this. What happened is because the county is operating the back end. If the county wasn't operating the back end, we'd be looking at over double the cost, way more than double the cost, because we'd have to purchase our own standalone back end to process all of this, as well as the bandwidth that goes along with it. Because the county started this initiative in Bergen, a significant amount of grant money went towards them for the back end. And that's how they came up with the program where you contribute and you get to participate.
Can you share this proposal with us?
What's that?
Can you share this $125,000 proposal with us?
Yes.
Can you send that to Mr. DeCarlo? Can you disseminate that to the council? Thank you. Any other questions on this, ladies and gentlemen?
There's no risk on the west side of town, like Van Emberg and Washington, needing cameras?
I would like Van Emberg in Washington, but I was trying to keep it reasonable.
It would cost a lot more because that is an older intersection. They'd have to run power basically to the system, whereas Ridgewood.
The location of the lights was also an issue,
Are both set up already because they're newer intersections.
but I'll be happy to upgrade the quote and go for that as well, because I do believe that that's another key intersection.
Are those the three that you're looking at if you had a choice, or is there any other locations?
I would prioritize those, and I would call that a good start. I would also like to get a mobile one in a vehicle, because that just gives us that additional capability. It can be placed somewhere and parked there and left there, and it's gathering intelligence. So it's a force multiplier in my opinion. It can also, that's something that's also used for more motor vehicle work, because that can be set up to run plates and then notify the officer immediately if he's sitting in a static location. If a vehicle drives past, it captures the plate, runs the plate, and tells the officer, that blue Honda is unregistered, or the blue Honda, that plate comes back to someone, with an expired license or a suspended license. So that's more of an enforcement thing, which I'd be happy and would like to get also.
Don't we have plate readers in our police cars now?
We do not.
So right now, the ask would just be those two intersections, the
Correct.
Township of Washington. Ridgewood.
Correct. We've obtained quotes for an additional vehicle as well. So that is into that 125
Oh,
This is
that
the two
includes.
intersections and one.
and a vehicle. Correct.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
can you please provide us that? That'd be great.
Yep.
The next ask, go ahead.
Just, you mentioned it can read and it I guess passively reads. Does it run every plate?
Yes.
That's easy, yes.
So if someone is unregistered, you get a notification of that?
With the mobile, correct. You can set the static ones to do that as well.
It stopped.
You just have to.
The stationary ones can be set to do that. They have the same capability. The issue with that is because it's not notifying someone on the road, that information goes to the desk first. So the desk would have to dispatch that to somebody. And by the time that happens, what they've generally found is that vehicle is no longer in the area. If you don't have your patrol vehicle in close proximity, the information loses its validity because of the timeliness of it. Whereas in a vehicle mounted one, the officer on the road gets that lookup. He may recall seeing that blue Honda, and he can go and see where it went. So it has that enforcement component to it as well.
Off-site dispatch operations at the Emergency Services Building, $20,000 estimate. So this is to build a secondary dispatch.
That doesn't cover the whole cost. That to me is a phased in. So ideally, right now we have radio
We have a radio there.
and no phone.
No phone, and we have no computer back up there.
Yeah. Right now we can handle radio communications from there.
Why don't we have a phone? Like, what do you mean by not having a phone? The fire, we can't get when they build the
We
building?
would have to have capabilities of pulling our lines. to
Oh,
them.
your physical phone,
Yes.
Correct.
not a phone in
So
general.
we would have to set up like a crash card, like the county has. So if we would have an issue right here and it's just ours, we can call the county, and the county comes in with a crash card, they call it. And they can set up the phones, and we could use that temporarily. But if it's a county-wide thing, we're not using a crash card. So we would need our own dedicated system that could be redundant to what we run here.
So is that why you're asking for an additional 60,000 next year?
Correct. What I would like to see is a phased in increase of capacity. The first two being radio and telephone communications. That means I can dispatch out of there, but I can't do anything else. I can take a phone call, but my dispatcher is writing things down on a piece of paper, hopefully to get transferred into the records management system later. The idea of looking for more money is to increase that capacity up to the point where I could fully dispatch out of there and operate my records management system. Everything else that we're doing is cloud-based.
But since
so we can get
911 is
access.
based out of Triborough anyway,
That
why
would
wouldn't
be
we go up to
easiest.
Triborough and do it there?
You'd have to pay them.
They don't have, yeah.
No, I'm
for-
saying couldn't we just go to Triborough and use a desk if our system crashed?
You'd have to pay them to do it.
and they don't have a desk available for it. Like, I'm sure they would be happy to take that role on. I have not explored that. But to the best of my knowledge, they'll continue to handle our 911 operations, but our full-blown dispatch operations.
I'm not saying every day. I'm saying.
No, I know, in the event of an emergency,
Yeah, like-
they would have to have that capacity, and I don't know if they do.
Is that something we could just look into?
I can absolutely explore it.
We can look into it. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to warn you, they're going to ask for money as a contingency to be like an MLU, basically with them. They're not going to do anything for free. They're about.
No, exactly. I mean, when this was all sold to me, we were never supposed to lose 911 here, and we don't have 911 here any longer. So it's a big ask. And I just want to make sure we vet everything because, one of the big deals was we had people standing here with pitchforks saying, we can't lose 911, and it miraculously left, and there was no more pitchforks. And,
That wasn't our doing, that was the state.
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying, but I'm just saying that was like, I remember years ago being at council, how dare you take away dispatch, and it went away and there was no, it's a big deal. So I just like to vet all the options before we make a decision.
I would much prefer to have 911 answered here. The practical realities became overwhelming for me to even justify it. So
It's upwards of $500,000 now for the system.
yeah.
And other jurisdictions are having a very difficult time getting funding for that.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, that's all I think we have is those 2 items for this year, right? Yes.
Just. I'm sorry, I just wanted to check something. So do we know how much? So we have $1,067,067 in 1704. Ordinance
Probably for the DPW building.
I mean, there's quite a bit of
Money in that ordinance. Yeah.
funded ordinances.
Yeah.
So before we start looking to, capitalize or recapitalize, we should look to extinguish the ordinances that have been approved.
Yeah.
Remember that's also categorized. It's not specific. So there's probably other lines within that 17.4 that are totaling that amount. But I really believe a good chunk of that is set aside for the DPW building.
So I'm just looking,
And that's just off the top of my head.
I mean, I'm looking at the presentation that was on the website. So 1704, 1821, 1919, and 2109. Can we explore and see what's left of those?
We can take a look, but however, I know while the building is still under what it was funded for, it's getting closer, so I can't imagine there's $1 million left to that part of the project. So like Mark is saying.
Oh, I'm sorry, for the ESP?
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So I imagine that ordinance is covering other things, but we'll take a look.
All right. I mean,
If we could find that money and build that radio dispatch thing and with that money from that existing ordinance, we could do it in one shot with that money. It'd be great.
Yeah.
And possibly the stationary LEPRs and the trucks exiting and entering signs, so if the county won't do it. I mean,
So just so I can clarify, what is the question?
is there money left in that ordinance, Mr. Allman, right, is what you're
For the
asking?
ESP?
so
Yes.
yes,
Okay.
they want to build a off-site dispatch.
At ESB, so why wouldn't we pay for it out of that ordinance
Okay.
and build it out and be done with it? Spend the 80,000 this year if there's 80,000 left over and put it into that ordinance.
I'll look to see how much is specifically in the line for the ESP.
Okay. And if there's any money left in the original line ordinance for land acquisition for the intersection, because we put away almost $500,000, I believe, for land acquisition in an ordinance, it's like 440,000 if I'm not mistaken. If there's any money there for the ALPRs, because that would be part of the intersection, because
That's definitely not familiar to me.
Yeah, that was before
Yeah, before your time.
Yes.
But if we can have Mr. Corcoran and just do a review of that and see what's left. It was the land acquisition cost for the new intersection, Mr. Corcoran. So there was an ordinance.
Again, I think that's tight because I think once Ken told us the final number is where we increased it. So I think that's pretty close to actual, but I'll take a look at it.
Just trying to find some funding sources.
The,
Anything else, ladies and gentlemen? Oh, Mr. Ullman, yes.
didn't we just buy body cameras?
Yes.
3 years.
That's all they,
Yes. They already came out with a new version of the ones that we have.
That's
We
great.
have the V300, they have the V700 now. And I
Obviously,
will say this.
we'll look for grants when the time
In
comes.
3 years, they've gotten beat up. You gotta realize they're on the officer's body and they go through all the weather. We've gone through one set of batteries already on them.
Obviously, it always has to be on the outside garment, which is,
Yeah,
It's
take-
never covered, you
Yeah.
know, and it's just, they get a lot of.
Anything else, Mr. Ullman?
well, I mean, we've talked a lot about maintenance and some big ticket items. And, you know, even though this is certainly qualify for capital based on the dollar amount, it's almost like they're consumables. So, you know,
Yeah, because we
do
did
we
the
want
body.
to give thought to putting this into our operating expense, you know?
it's the conversation that Captain and I had earlier today, actually.
You know,
We
it's
reviewed
just,
this. They're mandatory and they're part of an operating expense. So it's something we can absolutely explore.
you know, it's, every department is expensive. I think, I don't know. Yours isn't more expensive. It just seems like there's a lot more consumables, like a fire truck lasts 30 years or whatever. You know, we're trying to get cars for less than that. We're trying to get other equipment. I mean, fire department has the Scott bottles that I've spoken about. So it's just, can we think about forward-looking expenses and maybe not look to capitalize and look to dump them into the run rate, the operational.
My only concern with that would be, as you said, they'll be 3 years old then, but there's already a newer technology. I don't know if it affects you guys to support 2 or 3 different technologies if we try and do a rolling replacement as opposed to if 3 years is their useful life,
Yeah.
just get them
That
all.
was one of our discussion points because
That was exactly the, yeah.
the V300, which is what we currently use, the V700 is slightly different, smaller in stature. So you need a different dock to put them in. The back end is fine, but now you need a whole new docking system, and that's $1,500 plus just for the 8-position dock. So say we order 10 cameras, you know, they're $1,000 a piece, just so for argument's sake. And then your dock, that's almost another $2,000. You need to get 2 docks to be able to do those, and now we're running out of space to. So yes, to the mayor's point, it would. Could we do it? Yes. Is it going to be difficult because it is changing technology and it's not all interchangeable?
Is the current version still offered?
Yes.
So obviously we want to try to be on the best and the most current, but, you know, to be one release behind may not, you know, diminish your capacities that much.
Yes.
You know, it's a balancing act. Just food for thought
Yes,
as we
absolutely.
do this and get ready to do this again in a few months, you know.
I don't disagree. And as we discussed earlier, the issue becomes this planned obsolescence that seems to be part of everything. I would totally agree because the existing models are working fine. That operationally they do the job. I would be concerned with buying the lesser model and having them all of a sudden make it institutionally obsolete because they're not supporting it. That's my big concern with that. But Steve, I'll actually give you a while back. You said if you need something to operate, it should be an operating, and that's what precipitated this conversation. So, yeah, it's literally a couple hours ago we had the exact same
I'll give
conversation.
you an example. Their older version is called Vista, and you can't get them anymore. So, but it's still supported in the computer, and you can still access the video, obviously. But now they have the V300/700, so it's just a matter of time before they phase out the 300, to your point, so.
And I don't want to belabor, but maybe a compromise would be, and I don't even know if this is possible, if we put this like in a trust account and you fund it 30,000 a year, and then it's there at 100,000 when you want to do a full replacement. Maybe that's a good compromise,
Good
also
option
something we can look into.
To explore. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, very, very creative idea.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would just
Have a good
like
night.
to thank you all. When you decide to go over salaries and wages, I would respectfully ask to be present for that, for my department. I understand we need to get you the numbers.
Yeah, we just want to see, because it's, there's a line in there that says it was calculated,
Yeah.
so we just want to see the calculation. That's all.
So I want to get my homework straight. So we need that, and you want the ALPR.
The ALPR quote, yes, we can see exactly what we're getting.
Okay. Was there anything else? I just want to make sure I
And
get everything.
the Tri-Borough, what happens if we can go
Explore
there.
Tri-Borough.
Explore.
Yep.
All right.
Okay. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
Will we be discussing police salaries?
no, we're not going to be discussing, no, we're going to, just once we get that information, as long as everybody's okay with it. So I don't think we'll be racing anybody in the police department, because we're just going to.
There's also our records clerk as well as our dispatchers.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so there will be, yeah, okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So next week, we don't have any meetings scheduled because of the holiday. I know there's 2 council people that won't be here, right, correct? They're going away. So if we look at the following week, is everybody good with doing a Monday and Tuesday night? So Sue can notice, so Sue can advertise. Everybody okay with doing a Monday, Tuesday, just like we did this week?
What days?
It will be, hold on, let me.
We already have a council meeting
Right,
on
I was
the
gonna
8th.
say, April 8th, we have a council meeting, so it'll be, conference agenda will be
Yeah, budget, yeah, so April 8th will be a budget meeting instead of, and then April 9th, if everybody's okay with that.
That works for me.
Is everybody okay with that?
Are
April 8th?
are you at 8 o'clock still, because it's Tuesday night?
No, that'll be
So
fine.
we do 7 o'clock?
Yes.
So both nights at 7?
I don't believe the 9th I can do.
So how about the 10th?
A Wednesday night?
Is there a planning board meeting that night?
Yep, yes, there is.
Okay,
I mean, I don't have to, if we can't have a full, what do you call it?
Is it a time issue?
Well, they're gonna be in here
Night
anyway.
issue?
No,
no, we're talking about Tuesday. Can you be here at 8 o'clock or?
No, I have a commitment. I
All
can't.
right, so we do Monday and Thursday, is that
I
okay with
can
you?
do Thursdays.
You cannot do Thursdays, okay? That's not good. So what if we do Monday and then the following Monday and Tuesday, is that okay with everybody else? Can we check those dates too?
16th is a zoning board meeting, but the 17th is open.
So can we do Monday, the 9th, right?
No.
Monday the 8th.
Monday
No,
the
actually, we
8th.
don't have to advertise that one because that's first. Right. The 15th is open,
So can we do the 15th? Everybody okay with the 15th? It's a Monday, right?
right?
So yes.
16th is a zoning board, the 17th is open.
So can we have her advertise those 3 dates if we need and then,
8, 15, 17.
yep, 8, 15 and 17.
And if we have to cancel, we have to cancel, and we have to do anything else, and I'll
And then-
I'll send this out.
And then really quick, if you go to the tab with the employee salary comparison, I'd like to write the first 12 people on the list for the first night,
Hold on.
and then split the rest in the following 2 nights.
I'm sorry, what tab?
In the yellow tab for
Job classification?
employee salary comparison.
Let me see, okay,
So I don't know if you want to just split them into even
Oh.
thirds. Do the first third the Monday night, the second third the second meeting, and the third third the next meeting. Is everybody okay with that? So Sue can write them accordingly?
Well, we have a meeting tomorrow night, correct?
Yes.
You okay
We
with
won't be
that?
writing anybody tomorrow night. I'm saying writes the first third the Monday night after the break. Writes the next third the following meeting, and writes the remaining third the following meeting. So break them up into thirds. Mr. DeCarlo, this is everybody, all our employees, correct?
Yes, are you going to include the special officers?
They're at the very
You already
bottom.
approved their line anyway. Remember, that was the ones that did not go up for salary, stayed at $25.
So we could remove the 2 officers. So at the bottom of the first page,
Sorry.
Yeah.
at the bottom of the first page, we can remove those 2 officers. Okay?
Are you including the prosecutor and the judge?
No. So let's just go through it really quick. We're taking off those two SLEOs, right?
You're not going to do the crossing guards.
We're not doing crossing guards, no. We're not doing
I would take off the violations clerk.
violations clerk, no, we're not doing her or him.
The public defender,
Public defender, we would not be doing.
the directors.
Directors, we will raise them because we do have to do we haven't done any of the director salaries, so
And then how about the dispatchers, the 4 dispatchers?
we should raise them.
Let me just look over the front page.
I don't think there's, other than the 2 special officers at the bottom on the front page, I don't think there's many.
You don't, obviously, hopefully you don't have to do the plumbing code that is listed there. So, first page, bottom.
Yes. Yeah,
What's that?
The plumbing subcode that's listed on the first page, we're not going
we
to.
won't be discussing that person.
Oh, no? Is he?
I sent out an email to the council a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? So 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, this way you can get the,
So if I could just quickly, just
Do the
double check.
council members get rice notices?
I believe so.
No, I don't think we've ever done.
I don't think we've ever done
council
council, no, I don't think we've
members, though. We can
done,
do that in public. I don't think we've ever done
Yeah.
rice notice on that.
okay. So no.
Right.
Write them just to be safe, who cares, just send them.
So just to clarify this, on Mr. Pollard said, is there anticipation that the council wants to talk about the employees in closed session?
Well, it's up to them to take it out of closed.
So, but that's your intention, is to talk about it
Yes.
in closed? Okay. Okay, thank you.
So can I just review one real
Yeah.
quick? So I have the plumbing subcode.
The
No,
yeah,
okay, no, for
Yeah.
those.
2 special
The 2
officers,
CEOs.
yeah,
The prosecutor, the judge, the violations clerk, the public defender, and I feel like I'm missing one.
the crossing guards. The prosecutor,
Hold on, the crossing guards are the ones.
crossing guards at the top of the page. Right at the
I'm
top.
sorry, I'm looking for a crossing, I saw.
Yeah,
didn't see
we got
there.
rid of, we didn't
We're
do,
not gonna do that.
yep, we're not doing the public
Okay.
defender or the prosecutor, right? You got all those, right?
Yep, those are not.
Did you want the 2 police officers as their roles in OEM to be race notice?
Where's that?
On the second page, OEM.
No, we don't have to write. Did we do those already? I thought we did those already.
You can do the salary.
All right, then write some. Okay.
How about, on the bottom of the second page as the recycling coordinator?
No, we don't have to do that.
Okay.
Just a question. I know
We said no
the
judge either.
police are covered by a
CBA.
CBA. There was a question about overtime, or can we have a discussion about overtime?
Yes, we could.
Not specific to one person.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna do it in general. Yeah, as long as it's general.
That doesn't-
Yeah, that can be public, Mike. As long as we do it publicly, we're fine.
So to be clear, oh, I'm sorry, Sue, go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say, is there something maybe marked, should be sent out from the contract where it's got written out about overtime? Do maybe an explanation of what's in there? Is there something in there that maybe we
The
could share?
police overtime?
Yeah,
Oh, there's nothing in that.
It's
Yeah,
just
I mean,
police overtime is
Yeah,
needed.
Police overtime.
I'm just thinking what's in the document, if there's something.
No,
that
I mean,
never
there
come
might
out.
be something about the rate, but or it's time and a half for overtime, but nothing important, specific expenses.
Anything else, ladies and gentlemen?
Just a question. So basically, these meetings, these race meetings will take place on those last
The last three,
three?
not tomorrow night, the last three. will
The
break up
8,
into-
15, and 17.
Yeah,
So essentially, 15 and 17 will be solely closed session meetings,
no, we still have other lines in the budget to do, so.
but we're leaving, so we're not.
We're gonna go through the remaining lines that aren't
And then when
salary.
we come across that individual.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Well, no, but we'll wait till the end, and just at
You're
the
gonna
end,
go into closed
we'll go,
session.
we'll
and
do any, all the, as
We'll
much
do all
public,
of them in closed session. Okay.
and then unless they ask,
Right, I mean.
we've had an employee in the past come and want it in public,
Okay.
so.
Mike, I think perhaps you have to take a vote on the rice notices of the body.
That was my next.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'd make a motion to accept Mr. Pollard's guidance that he gave us at the beginning of the meeting and has been done with previous councils, including the one last year and the one before, that we write to the employees so we can discuss it. That's my motion. Would somebody second it?
I'll second it.
Roll call?
Just. I'm sorry, my fingers are not working now.
Take your time.
And then we're gonna do a second from
Cassia.
Cassio, okay. Roll call, Councilman Cassio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
No.
Councilman Ullman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
No.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Ms. Witkowski, if you can send out the rights notices as we discussed in the schedule. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Good evening, everyone.